He was a 9-live celestial venerable emperor who completely dominated his generation. He did not have any special opportunities handed to him. Instead, he created the most valuable opportunities in his life using unique search techniques and artifacts. He then divided all of these opportunities among his 8 empresses so that they could keep up with him. Basically, he did all the hard work and then said, "Here, take my notes before the exam." But this is where things started to go wrong. These empresses began to feel that their talent was even greater than that of our bro, and that it was only because of him that they had been held back. They believed that he had lured them with the temptation of valuable opportunities and trapped them, taking away their freedom. Well, yeah, same typical rant and classic misunderstanding. Something like, he helped us grow, but that somehow turned into, he ruined our lives. So today when our bro, 9-live celestial venerable, was about to pass his final tribulation and achieve sagehood, the 8 of them did something that caused him to fail. But the story does not end here, because our bro and all 8 bitches have now returned to the past. And this time, 9-live celestial venerable has sworn that he will not help them at all. He wants them to realize what their true worth is without him. This time bro clearly says, no guidance, no support, just pure, figure it out yourself mode. Well, the summary of the story has already been told, so before diving in, don't forget to like and subscribe. And now, let's begin the story in detail. At the highest 9 heavens, cranes fly around the towering palace. A group gathers while the elder announces that today 9-live celestial venerable shall validate the Tao as a saint, ranking above the 9 heavens. He says it is truly a fortunate event for the clan, and everyone is fortunate to witness this magnificent feat today, calling it the luck of 3 lifetimes. He then says they should respectfully welcome 9-live celestial venerable, and that the tribulation begins. 9-live celestial venerable walks out with 8 women behind him. People watching quietly comment that he is really such a show-off, and that he has great luck with women and their melons, saying every single one of those 8 empresses is top tier. Another elder scolds the juniors and tells them they had better be serious. He says this ascension tribulation is a scene they would not see in several lifetimes. He explains that in the past, 9-live celestial venerable fought the monster race and destroyed the demon realm, and says that he is simply an invincible existence. The sky twists into a great vortex above the palace. Celestial stands beneath it, and says that today this venerable ascends, and that he shall see who dares to stop him. Light erupts around him as he rises, and the people watching say that it is starting. He looks up at the sky in surprise. A massive figure appears within the storm, and a woman cries out that it is ancient modern celestial venerable, calling it the #1 ranked eternal great tribulation. The others say they believe 9-live celestial venerable is invincible. Facing the figure, 9-live celestial venerable asks about one battle. The other voice answers agreed, and the power of the tribulation descends around them. Blinding light crashes down from above. The empresses stand together. Their names appear: Red Rhombus Empress Yue Hongling, Vermilion Bird Empress Ji Zhuyan, and 9 Heavens Sword Maiden Chu Ling. Chu Ling says that they have waited for this moment, and waited far too long. Countless clones appear in the sky, and the words time technique echo. Someone explains that this time technique allows clones to travel across multiple time dimensions to hunt down the celestial venerable, and that as long as Liu Yi dies in one time period, it can cause fatal damage to Liu Yi. Ji Zhuyan smiles. 9-live celestial venerable thinks that he knew this move would be used, but apologizes. He then declares that in every time period, he is an invincible existence. He says that he has already killed the Yu in every time period one by one. Suddenly he felt something strange. The elder explains that the fellow Taoist's strength is extraordinary, but he has been struck by the yin-yang Tao devouring Gu, and only then did he find an opening, asking if he never noticed. 9-live celestial venerable thinks about the yin-yang Tao devouring Gu, and wonders who is framing him. His eyes widen, and he realizes it might be something important. Thinking that it could be, all 8 women appear and laugh together. This kind of Gu is formless and immaterial, that it can only be planted during the union of yin and yang, and that the only ones capable of doing such a thing are them. Elder says that victory and defeat are decided, that it is a pity 9-live celestial venerable possesses righteousness and affection, yet he was calculated against like this by the women he loved most. Another woman responds that there is no righteousness and affection, saying they have been targeted by his lustful might, and tyrannically possessed for a long time. Another woman reminds a senior brother about Feng Wuxi, saying that if not for him, the one with her should have been Feng Wuxi. One calls it a joke and says he deceived his master, destroyed his ancestors, and slaughtered the innocent. The women decide to act, saying they will personally send 9-live celestial venerable on his final journey as a devil, and that their actions will be for slaying the demon. One tells him to go die and says that once he dies they will be free. 9-live celestial venerable looks at them and says that in the past he treated them well, that if not for him they would not have their current positions as empresses, and that he never expected them to actually be ungrateful wretches. Light flickers in the darkness. Ancient modern celestial venerable, or say the elder, tells 9-live celestial venerable that now is not the time to be distracted. 9-live celestial venerable reacts in silence. A blazing blue strike crashes down from the sky. The The women and several men watch from afar. 9 Lives Celestial Venerable thinks that since he must die, then everyone dies together. His body becomes covered in violent red power. One of the women realizes what is happening and says that he is going to self-destruct his cultivation, that he wants to drag everyone down to perish together, and she tells everyone to run. Another woman looks up and thinks that it is too late. Ancient Modern Celestial Venerable stands beneath a spinning vortex and says that there is no need to be so miserable, that this battle was not fully satisfying. He says that 9 Lives Celestial Venerable was poisoned by the GU, so his victory is not martial, and that he can give him another chance. The vortex expands, and he says to let them accompany 9 Lives Celestial Venerable for one more time, telling him not to disappoint him this time. The space-time reversal technique activated by Ancient Modern Celestial Venerable brought the souls of 9 Lives Celestial Venerable, or say Lu Ye, and the 8 Empresses back to 50 years ago. Lu Ye looks ahead in silence. Lu Ye looks at his reflection and realizes they actually came back. A door opens. The servant Chu Ling, the future 9 Heavens Sword Maiden, steps out. Feeling dizzy, she sees him and calls him master. She wonders how they returned to the past and whether everything was only a dream, whereas Lu Ye realizes from her reaction that she also came back. He remembers Ancient Modern Celestial Venerable and thinks that it is wonderful, thanking him for giving the chance to choose again. Chu Ling looks at him in surprise. Lu Ye sits down, places his feet in the basin, and tells her to wash his feet. Chu Ling hesitates. He thinks that he could kill her now to avenge the betrayal, but sometimes death is not the cruelest punishment. He watches her and thinks that the current Chu Ling carries anger and resentment, but even if he kills her, she will not feel the pain. He decides to let her live and live well, so she can personally experience what a miserable end it is to be without him. He smiles and tells her that none of it was a dream, that they all came back. Chu Ling stares at him and wonders what he means, asking if it could be. He says that Ancient Modern Celestial Venerable's space-time technique brought them all back, and he says he remembers clearly what Chu Ling said that day. Chu Ling starts to speak, then stops. Lu Ye tells her that it is enough, and asks if she did not want freedom. He says that starting now, she is free. He holds up a tablet and asks what it is. Chu Ling answers that it is her life tablet and his. He says that the contract tablet has already been burned, that she can go back to Chu Sword Villa. Chu Ling asks why, since he has 9 lives. He chose to self-destruct during his very first life. Lu Ye tells her it is none of her business, and tells her to get lost. Chu Ling looks at him and thinks that since he returned from rebirth, he will not die a good death. She says that she possesses the innate sword body, and that if not for him, she would have certainly lived better. She walks out and calls out to her dad, mom and brother, saying that Linger is back. Lu Ye snorts. He thinks of them and calls them a bastard dad, a shameless mom, a trash brother, and says that she is pitiful. He looks ahead and says that after Chu Ling goes back, she will know what a true devil's den is. He decides that in this life, he will not have any pity for them. He turns and says that without the fetters of those 8 women, he will definitely reach a higher realm. The door suddenly breaks apart, and a woman kicks it in. She attacks and he blocks, surprised. He recognizes her and thinks that Fairy Hongling should now be called Yue Hongling. Yue Hongling calls out his name again and steps inside. She says she will kill him and kicks at him repeatedly. He grabs her and holds her still, asking if she still dares to hit him. Yue Hongling looks shaken and asks what he is doing, whereas Bro started enjoying amidst the fight. He tells her that today she must fix his door, and that if she cannot do it, he will strangle her to death. She refuses and cries, saying that if it were not for him, she should have been with Feng Wuxi. Lu Ye listened without emotion. He lifted her by the arm as though reminding her the present still existed. He told her that, if that was true, she should stay alive long enough to go find the man herself. She yielded, afraid, agreeing to fix the door. Her thoughts admitted quietly that even after traveling back she still could not match him. He pushed her away. She fell forward, struck the ground and groaned. His voice followed, flat and unhurried, promising death if the door remained broken when he returned. She stood in the doorway and spoke of their past life, of the bond between them, of the roles they once shared. He answered that such bonds belonged only to the past. In this life, neither owed the other anything. The scene shifted to a courtyard of blossoms and quiet ponds. Lu Ye walked beneath falling petals and entered the residence of Bai Chulan. He greeted her as master. She studied him calmly and asked why he possessed only 1 life. He answered plainly, in pursuit of breakthrough, he had fused the remaining lives into one, leaving only this existence behind. His master's gaze cooled. She warned him that the chaos taint of the past must never resurface. If he strayed again, she would cleanse the sect without hesitation. He acknowledged the warning, bowing with controlled composure. Later, alone on a mountain peak, he reflected. The poison had been transferred onto himself. His cultivation had fallen back to the first layer. He would need to rebuild everything from the beginning. He summoned the ancient system bound to him. The blue panel responded, awaiting his command. He chose cultivation. Golden light enveloped him as the 9 lives undying heaven. Scripture began anew. Time shifted. Outside the main gates of Chu Sword Villa, Chu Ling arrived breathless and dust-covered. She whispered to herself that she had finally returned home. The guards stared, uncertain. The eldest miss had somehow come back, yet looked little better than a beggar. They moved to drive her away, not recognizing her. She simply stood there, exhausted, determined not to leave. Chu Ling says she is not a beggar, that she is the eldest miss, that she is Chu Ling. The guard points his blade and calls her impudent, asking where this wild girl came from, daring to impersonate the eldest miss. He tells her to scram immediately, and says not to blame his blade for being merciless. Chu Ling tells him to look at her face and says she is Chu Ling, that even held her when she was small and often gave her candy to eat. He answers that she is not of the Chu family bloodline anyway, asking what she is coming back for. He thinks she is a moron, that she finally escaped the devil's den yet came back to court death. Chu Ling says that although she is not biological, the villa master and madam treated her like a biological daughter, even closer than a biological daughter. Another guard realizes it really is the eldest miss, says Chu Ling is back, and calls her the innate sword body. He thinks everything is finished. Villa Master Chu Shongtian rushes out, calling her Ling heir, and saying she is back, that she finally came back, and that father missed her to death. Zheng Shuiyue, as Chu Ling's adoptive mother, watched her from distance. Chu Ling calls out that it is Ling heir and that she is back. Zheng Shuiyue scolds her, asking where she went for such a long time, saying there was not even a single letter, and that they were almost worried to death. Chu Ling apologizes and says she was held hostage and taken to the Great Tao sect. She says he would not allow her to contact them, that she secretly ran back, and that she will never leave father and mother again. A young man bumps into someone and says ouch. A guard asks young master if he is alright. He thinks that heaven has eyes, that the scapegoat is back, and that this young master is saved. Chu Shifei cries with relief. Whereas, at Lu Ye's training, golden light erupts. It is explained that the first layer heaven where the Great Tao sect is located, is the weakest world, and that cultivation realms are divided into postnatal, prenatal, Qi refining, origin core, shattering infant, void refining, and Tao integration. With the experience of the previous life, Lu Ye breaks through from Qi refining 5th layer to 9th layer in 15 days, and begins core formation. His body trembles, he coughs, he wonders what happened, noticing that only half the true Qi in his body is forming the core, while the other half is solidified and unmoving. A notification says heavenly rigidity poison has been detected. He thinks that it must be those women pulling tricks again. He realizes they added another layer of insurance, the heavenly rigidity poison, not only planting the yin-yang Tao devouring goo in him, clearly wanting him to be unable to turn things around even with 9 lives. He thinks that what they do not know is that he still has a trump card. He asks the system if there is a method to break the poison. The system replies that there is, saying he only needs to break through to the origin core realm, change the true Qi structure, transform true Qi into true essence, and then the poison can be dissolved. He repeats the words, wondering about breaking through to origin core. He thinks that he can currently only use half his true Qi and cannot form the origin core. He then remembers that he once refined a perfect returning origin pill, and that as long as he eats it, he can break through to the origin core realm. He remembers that the pill is extremely rare, and that in the past life he gave it to Yue Hongling at the Great Tao sect. He decides that in this life there is no need for that. He suddenly senses something and looks out. A voice announces that in the Great Tao sect, the 92nd generation disciple, Bai Qiulan's disciple Yue Hongling, reached Qi refining completion in 1 month and 17 days, broke the sect's Qi refining record, and was rewarded with a bottle of peerless returning origin pills, 3 precious artifacts, a true legacy disciple slot, and 2 self-selected divine abilities. Lu Ye thinks that as expected of the future empress, she cultivates fast, that he brought a system and was still only 2 days faster than her. He decides to go down the mountain. The system asks where the host is going. He answers that he is going to the tomb of the void refining expert to take back the returning origin pill that belongs to him. He recalls that over 1,000 li to the west of the Great Tao sect, there is an ancient tomb, and according to the experience of his past life, it would not be discovered for another month. He walks into the tomb and thinks that the most precious things inside are the fragment of the 9 lives undying heaven scripture, and the perfect returning origin pill. Hongling arrives first. She says in this life she is faster than Lu Ye. She opens a book and freezes. Inside the page written is that she is too late, along with childish drawings. She stares and says this is, then becomes angry. She shouts that Lu Ye is a son of a bitch. Golden light suddenly appears behind her. She turns, shocked, and gasps. She was trapped inside the glowing formation and kept shouting that Lu Ye should let her out. 3 days passed. She finally rushed out of the door and angrily called for Lu Ye to come out. She leapt forward, but golden light struck her and sent her flying. She fell to the ground, embarrassed and furious. Whereas he asked if her mother had never taught her to knock before entering someone's room, she wiped the blood from her lips, and thought that even if she died outside, she would not yield to him. She knocked on the door and asked the senior brother to open it. From inside he told her to scram. She grew angrier and knocked harder, demanding to know whether he had taken the perfect returning origin pill from the ancient tomb. She charged forward again while the power blasted her away. She forced herself not to get angry, and thought that she must endure it. She asked again if he had taken the pill. He answered that she should scram. She said he had the skill to take it but no courage to admit it. When master arrives, she knelt before her master. She complained about Lu Ye and presented herself as the wronged party. The master listened calmly and asked for the reason behind the conflict. Lu Ye appeared as well. He pointed out her behavior and reminded her of basic courtesy. While the master questioned him further, Hongling stated that Lu Ye possessed a rare returning origin pill taken from an ancient tomb. She argued that he could not use it, and she wanted to exchange something for it. The master considered her words, then turned toward Liu Ye. She acknowledged his talent and explained that he did not actually need such a pill. She suggested he give it to his junior sister instead, promising that anything he lacked could be provided to him. Liu Ye declined. He stated simply that he needed the pill himself. Hongling grew indignant and challenged his claim. She insisted she did not rely on the pill to progress and acted as if he underestimated her ability. Her emotions flared again, but the master intervened. Keeping the situation measured, he held the glowing pill in his hand for a moment, then decided. He placed it in his mouth, consuming it without hesitation. Hongling watched, both stunned and helpless, as the matter ended on his terms. She storms out, still burning with anger and humiliation. She vows to grow stronger and prove herself, but exhaustion slowly settles into her body. Her master watches quietly, understanding her frustration, yet knowing the girl is letting pride control her thoughts. Time passes. At Chu Sword Villa, Chu Ling eats quietly while her adoptive parents care for her. She feels grateful, believing they treat her better than the parents who abandoned her at birth. Her mother pretends calmness, but inwardly feels relieved about something unspoken. Sleepiness suddenly overwhelms the girl. Her mother reassures her and urges her to rest. The sensation grows heavier, unnatural and fast, and Chu Ling senses something wrong. Her vision blurs, her body weakens. She collapses onto the bed as power inside her begins to stir uncontrollably. She attempts to regulate her energy, but the strange force continues to surge. Her breathing becomes unstable as the unknown change keeps intensifying. She feels the strange power in her body and realizes she has been poisoned. She wonders if it was the jade stalk porridge, then denies it in disbelief, thinking that her mother personally cooked it and could not poison her. Someone knocks on the door and calls out, asking if she is asleep. She turns in shock. She pretends to be asleep and covers her body. Outside, her adoptive mother says that she has been poisoned and tells them they can start. Chu Sifi praises his mother, saying Ginger or Chu Ling gets spicier as it gets older. Zheng Shuiyue tells them to take the girl away and send her to the old ancestor. They travel at night through the forest while carrying her. One guard reports that the matter of Chu Si has been resolved and no survivors remain. The Chuviel master says that if she had not suddenly run back to seek death, the sword sacrifice would have been the son's lesson for the future, and he tells his son Chu Sifi to stop wasting time playing around. Chu Sifi replies that he was wrong and will cultivate properly from now on. Chu Ling hears them mention the sword sacrifice and realizes they raised her for this purpose. Chu Sifi says that since she is going to die anyway, he should be allowed to use her for a bit, just half an hour. The villa master angrily scolds him, saying she is considered his sister and not to ruin the family reputation. He cries that it hurts and says she is just the daughter of 2 dead slaves, not his biological sister. She realizes with tears that her biological parents were killed by them. Zheng Shuiyue suggests letting the son be alone with her for half an hour. The villa master insists that if the old ancestor's sword forging is delayed, then the one who will suffer will be Chu family. She wonders if this is the truth behind why Lu Ye never let her go home. She remembers cultivating with her heavenly thighs and begging Lu Ye to let her return because she missed her parents. Lu Ye told her they were not her biological parents, and questioned why she was in such a hurry to go back. She said they treated her even better than real parents, and asked how he could say that. He smiled and told her that when the sword was finished, he would personally take her home. She said the refining had gone on for so long and accused him of lying again. She remembers returning to the villa and shouting that she was back late, while the entire place burned. She cried that it was all Lu Ye's fault and called him a bastard. She wondered if the sword he had mentioned was actually this demon's sword. Outside, night falls. Lu Ye watches through a projection. The system says it is a pity she has fallen into a coma and cannot hear what the Chu family is saying. Lu Ye says that someone reborn from the Great Emperor realm could not fall into a coma from sleeping drugs, that she just does not dare accept the truth for the moment. The system asks if the master wants to save her. Lu Ye watches as the Chu family carries her. The system asks whether he wants to watch her die. He thinks that saving her is unnecessary and feels satisfied that she ended up like this. He adds that she does not need him to save her. They arrive in front of the great hall and bow, greeting the old ancestor. The old ancestor from Chu Sword Villa sits in meditation. He looks at the woman on the stretcher and says she is not bad, then asks them to hand her over. He orders the 2 disciples to stay behind and observe the completion of the demon sword ceremony. They thank the old ancestor. Flames rise as the forging ritual begins. The old ancestor explains that this demon sword has been condensed from more than 30 years of his blood and sweat, and now only lacks the final step. The villa master congratulates him, saying that once the demon sword is forged, he can step into a higher realm in one move. The old ancestor says to begin. Countless flaming swords fall like rain. One sword appears within the fire, glowing brightly. The old ancestor announces the sword sacrifice, Swords of fire descended. The ritual burned hotter. Chu Ling was thrown into the flames. Chu Sifi watched and lamented the waste. The flames wrapped around her. She smiled faintly. Then she laughed. The sword formed in the fire. Villamaster stared, unsettled. Something changed. He asked what was happening. Blue light appeared. Chu Ling rose from the flames. The fire did not consume her. It obeyed her. Chu Sifi shouted to his father. She was not dead. The ancestor looked again. His expression turned grim. He could not explain it. She rose from the flames, the power around her gathering and hardening. The ancestor sensed it too late. His eyes widened as he understood the danger pressing toward him. Energy burst from her hands and struck forward. The ancestor tried to defend, but the attack broke through his guard and drove him back. His confidence fractured with the blow. The force wrapped around him, lifting him and tearing at his body. Blood scattered as he was dragged upward, helpless. She stood firm, calm and unwavering, carrying the weapon with new resolve and stating that the demon sword is used to slaughter demons. Chuvia Master insists that she is Chu Ling, not Linger. As her footsteps moves forward, Chuvia Master demands to know why, saying he treated her as his closest family and asking why she is doing this to him. He calls her Linger and says she is so powerful now that she does not need to be used for the sword sacrifice anymore, telling her they should go home. Chu Ling coldly asks if he thinks he is worthy to call her Linger. A slash cuts through, and she adds that he is a beast looking to her brother. Chu Sufi quickly agrees that he is a beast and begs her to treat him like a dog and let him go, asking her not to kill him. Chu Ling tells him he is worse than a dog and cuts his neck. Her mom reacts in shock with a confused sound. Then she demands to know why Chu Ling is the one who came out, asking where they are. Chu Ling asks who they are. Her mom says it is their father and brother, their family. Chu Ling refuses, saying she has no family. A powerful strike lands, and Chu Ling tells her to go accompany them too. Chu Ling declares that the people of the Chu family all deserve to die. Not far away, watching all of this through system window, Lu Ye comments that the entire Chu Sword Villa was left with no survivors, and says she did not even spare a chicken. He decides to close it and says to do it. System asks if Master does not want to continue watching, then says a nascent Soul Realm cultivator should be coming to kill Chu Ling in a moment. Lu Ye responds that it is deserved, whereas Chu Ling weakly says she was wrong, repeating that she was wrong. Lu Ye watching this reacts with "Oh." A man arrives there as Master Li Jian. He says the demon sword was actually successfully forged. He says that since the demon sword brings Chu Ling pain, he will liberate her from it. Chu Ling drops down with no reaction, and Li Jian questions if she actually has no reaction. He laughs and calls her a fool, then declares that the demon sword is his, and tells her to go die as he strikes. She blocks the attack. Li Jian is thrown backward cause of the shock by attack. Li Jian coughs out goo, and observes that this young lady is merely at the origin core realm, yet possesses such swordsmanship. He adds that there must be a huge secret hidden on her body, and says he did not expect that besides the demon sword there would be an unexpected harvest. He reacts with surprise as Chu Ling runs away. Li Jian chases after Chu Ling and tells her not to run, calling her a good girl and saying uncle is a good person. Chu Ling runs while thinking that she was wrong and wants to atone, whereas Hongling arrives at Lu Ye's door and calls out for him to come out. She threatens that if he does not come out, she is coming in. She remembers what happened previously when she broke that door. Therefore, after a moment, she gives up and tells herself to forget it. She complains that she tried treasures and pills to assist but only condensed a heavenly core, then states that clearly, without using treasures and pills, one can condense a saint core. She calls Lu Ye a villain and accuses him of intentionally sabotaging her cultivation, saying he is a villain through and through. System asks Lu Ye if he can still endure her cursing like this. Lu Ye says to seal the ears and focus on cultivation, declaring that no one can stop him from proving the Tao and becoming a saint. Master Bai appears behind Hongling and tells her to stop scolding, asking what condensing a heavenly core has to do with Liu Ye. Master Bai says that among the 7 of them, no one knows Liu Ye worries the most about her, calling her junior sister, and asks if she does not understand it herself. Master Bai tells her to immediately apologize to her senior brother. She refuses, saying it is impossible because he broke up Feng Wuxi and her, and indirectly caused Feng Wuxi's death, and she will never forgive him. Master Bai says that is good, and orders her to immediately go to the back mountain to face the wall and reflect on her mistakes. Master Bai warns that if she does not think it through clearly, she is not allowed to leave the back mountain. Hongling agrees and says she will go. A foot steps forward. Chu Ling lies on the ground and lets out a weak sound. She quietly says Great Tao Sect. A woman senses something and asks who it is. Chu Ling weakly calls out that it is Bailan Peak, and tries to say Lu Ye, then says she is Chu Ling. The woman reacts with surprise as Li Jian calls out for a fellow Taoist to wait. Li Jian says he chased this vile creature here. He adds that he had no intention of offending the Great Tao Sect's heavenly prestige, and says he will take this creature away immediately. The woman stops him and says there is no rush, since Chu Ling claimed to know someone from her sect. She says to wait for her to go back and ask, and only if the person does not know her, then he can take her away. She tells someone there to watch him closely, and says that before she returns, they must not let him take the person away. Other answers yes. While at Bailan Peak, the women reports to junior brother Lu Ye that a woman claiming to be Chu Ling is being chased and is heavily injured. She adds that Chu Ling collapsed outside the mountain gate, and asks if he knows her. Liu Ye asks who. She says Chu Ling's name. Liu Ye says he does not know her, and since junior brother does not know her, they will not save her. Liu Ye repeats that he does not know her and says farewell. System asks Master if he really intends to leave her, but Liu Ye tells System to remember how she treated him in the past life and says she will not die. The woman goes there and says it has been verified that his sex disciple does not know her. She then tells him he may take her away, and Li Jian says he knew it, mocking how the great Tao sect would know such a female devil, and says he will take her away right now so as not to soil their noble sect. A blue aura flares at Li Jian's hand as someone appears, and he demanding to know who is there. Master Bai appears, and two disciples greet Marshal, Aunt Bai. Master Bai says they cannot take her away. Li Jian shouts that the great Tao sect going back on its word is not the conduct of a righteous sect, and says it is great disrespect. The woman blocks the sect member and stops him from taking Chu Ling away. The man insists his sword is still sharp too. Master Bai strikes down in a single blow, and leaves the aftermath to them, then takes Chu Ling back to the sect. Master Bai arrives with Chu Ling and calls out from the mountain and says to senior sister please save Chu Ling. Chu Ling lies injured, and senior sister questions how she ended up hurt so badly. Master Bai says Chu Ling should have died already, but senior sister says as long as she is not dead, she can still be saved. Chu Ling weakly calls for the young master. Chu Ling wakes up on a bed while the others react, and then Chu Ling thanked Master Bai for saving her and said she wanted to find the young master. Master Bai told her not to rush and to heal first, saying that once she recovered, Liu Ye might come out of seclusion. Chu Ling insisted she wanted to apologize to the young master because she had always misunderstood him, and admitted she had been protecting him all along. The other women reacted in shock, realizing what she had just heard. Master Bai remained silent. Then she asked the other women to step outside for a moment so she could speak with Chu Ling privately. The women hurried out, leaving Master Bai behind. Chu Ling began to explain what happened before, mentioning Liu Ye and an unavoidable act, while Master Bai showed mild surprise. The woman steps out and freezes when she realizes she can no longer hear anything. She panics, shocked that someone actually guarded against her. Well, after a while, System reports to Liu Ye that a woman has been kneeling outside for a long time. Liu Ye refuses to go. He states that he has not forgotten what she did to him in his past life, and that women only affect his cultivation speed, while cultivation is the most important thing. Well outside, Chu Ling remains kneeling, and insists that as long as she perseveres, Liu Ye will one day forgive her. At Chixia Peak, the Great Tao sect has 9 main peak ANS 72 sub-peaks. Bailan Peak and Chixia Peak are one of them. Hongling trains at Chixia Peak Mountain. A man named Linghua Wushuang watches her melons, and thinks that this woman is. When Hongling senses something, then Linghua hides behind. Linghu steps forward and introduces himself as Chixia Peak's newly inducted eldest disciple, and greets her as junior sister Hongling. Linghu recalls his fame and achievements as the sect's holy son and a hero during dark turmoil, and says he has just started practicing and asks for advice. Hongling smirks and says he cannot beat her. Linghu responds that age does not decide strength, and suggests they fight to find out. Hongling proposes that if he can beat Liu Ye, he should spar with her. Linghu says he has no grievances with Liu Ye, and asks why he should challenge him. Hongling says Liu Ye is the one who caused her to be punished and confined on Chixia Peak. Linghu asks how Liu Ye harmed her. Hongling says she will explain starting from the day Liu Ye tried to smash her and she smashed his door. Half an hour later, when Hongling is done telling everything, Linghu is furious that such a person could be her senior brother. He tells Hongling to wait while he defeats Liu Ye, and forces him to admit his faults. At Liu Ye's residence, he hears someone outside, and wonders why the boy is here. He recalls their first meeting should have been at the all-sect disciple competition, where he was champion and Linghu was runner-up. Linghu confronts Liu Ye and asks if he is Liu Ye. Liu Ye confirms it and asks what the matter is. Suddenly Liu Ye says he has heard his story, then praises his cultivation progress. Linghu responds that it was actually 2 months and 11 days, and that the first day was for entry procedures because he did not cultivate. Liu Ye acknowledges Linghu's talent, and Linghu demands he stop smiling because he came to challenge him. Liu Ye accepts the challenge, saying he is bored. The fight begins immediately. Liu Ye blocks Linghu's attack with just 2 fingers, leaving Linghu stunned. Hongling rushes in to apologize mid-battle, but Linghu realizes the situation is bad and tries to defend himself. Liu Ye follows up from behind and sends Linghu crashing to the ground. Liu Ye asks calmly if that is enough. Linghu refuses to stop and shouts for another round. He unleashes the Chixia sword art, channeling it through his blade as he attacks again, and declares he does not believe Liu Ye can still dodge. The golden sword light slashes down, but Liu Ye slips past it. Linghu is shocked and reacts in confusion. Liu Ye tells him to watch closely and says he will only demonstrate once, then moves with extreme speed. Linghu realizes the speed is far beyond his expectation. Liu Ye strikes, forcing Linghu Wushuang to cry out as he is knocked back. Liu Ye asks how it was and whether he wants to continue. Linghu admits that in terms of skill he is inferior, but says Liu Ye's comprehension ability is strong. Linghu explains that he has already comprehended the second form of the Chixia sword art. Ling Hu stands frozen in shock, unable to respond. After a while, Lu Ye asks if they can end it here. Ling Hu admits defeat, says Lu Ye is strong, and states that Lu Ye's future achievements will inevitably surpass his. Lu Ye tells him that if anyone asks in the future, he can say they fought for 10 rounds, and that it was only a narrow victory. Ling Hu laughs and says Lu Ye is a good person, and that he will remember him. Ling Hu bids farewell, and leaves. Chu Ling appears and calls out saying Lu Ye finally came out, and Ling Hu remarks that there are many beauties on Balian Peak. A sudden sound startles her as Lu Ye closes the door. She asks why Lu Ye has closed his door again. Ling Hu comments that a woman like her is precious, that there are plenty of fish in the sea, and questions why she insists on one tree. Chu Ling asks Lu Ye to open the door and look at Ling Er. Ling Hu thinks to forget it, adds that she is pretty but unfortunately blind, and complains that although he is dashing and handsome, she does not spare him a glance. The scene shifts to a grassy field where Hongling charges forward with a sword as she practices. She stops as Ling Hu arrives and admits defeat. Hongling says she already told him that he could not beat Lu Ye. Ling Hu adds that Lu Ye is actually a decent person and not as terrible as described. Hongling replies that Lu Ye treats men well, but that does not necessarily apply to women. Ling Hu mentions that he saw a young maiden kneeling before Lu Ye's door earlier, and that Lu Ye kept the door shut and refused to come out. Hongling asks what the maiden looked like and what her name was. Ling Hu says she was very pretty, and that he heard her call herself Ling Er, or something similar. Hongling freezes when she realizes Chu Ling has actually come back and wonders how this should be handled. She immediately denies being jealous and insists she has no reason to be jealous of Lu Ye. Ling Hu looks distressed and realizes that Hongling is also connected to Lu Ye, lamenting his own lack of insight. Ling Hu calls Hongling junior sister and says he has already fulfilled his promise to challenge Lu Ye, so now she should spar with him. Hongling points out that he did not defeat Lu Ye, but says she does not care and still demands that he take responsibility and fight her. She declares that it is time to make him give up on his feelings, and says she will not hold back like Lu Ye did. Hongling attacks as a violent impact follows as Ling Hu shouts for her to be gentle. Half an hour later, Ling Hu appears battered and speechless. He stands bruised and teary, his face swollen and expression aggrieved. Hongling stands with her sword lowered, posture firm. She warns him not to disturb her cultivation again and orders him to leave. Ling Hu looks on in disbelief, muttering about the people of Bailan Peak and vowing to return stronger than before. Hongling pauses. Her gaze sharpens as she recalls Chu Ling's return. She dismisses the thought, turning away. Confinement no longer matters to her. Inside the courtyard, Chu Ling kneels before a closed door. She admits fault and calls out again. The door suddenly bursts open. Chu Ling is thrown across the floor. She lands hard inside the room and looks up in shock, calling for her senior brother. Close on Chu Ling's face as she realizes something is wrong. Her eyes widen. She announces that senior brother is missing. Hongling walks toward Chu Ling and tells her that Lu Ye is gone, asking why she is still kneeling there. Chu Ling turns her tearful eyes toward her and says that even if the young master is not home, she will kneel until he returns. Hongling tells her to stop kneeling and get up, saying that as female cultivators they also have dignity, and questioning why she must kneel to him. Chu Ling admits to Sister Hongling that she was wrong. She says she administered the heavenly rigidity poison to the young master, and that this is the punishment she deserves. Master Bai came and tells Chu Ling that those things are in the past, and that everything now starts anew, so she does not need to blame herself. Chu Ling says no, and states that the heavenly rigidity poison cannot be cleared, and will remain in the body forever, with no cure. Hongling asks whether the heavenly rigidity poison came back together with Lu Ye. Master Bai mentions the perfect returning origin pill. Chu Ling explains that Lu Ye did not take the perfect returning origin pill intentionally, but because the heavenly rigidity poison flared up and consumed half of the power. Hongling looks distressed and apologizes to her senior brother. Master Bai then asks whether they all misunderstood him, and asks Lu Ye where he exactly is. At the Great Dao Sect back mountain, a pavilion stands among the trees as Lu Ye sits inside, surrounded by golden flames. The system informs him that they are all waiting for him to go back. Lu Ye tells it to let them be. He says it is quiet here and that he will just cultivate here. He then says he has figured it out, that the women came one after another and that they are all stumbling blocks on his path to the Dao. The system asks how long he plans to stay there. Lu Ye states that before the September Sect Disciple competition starts, he will reach the 13th layer of the Origin Core and gain the qualification to enter the Great Dao Treasure Pavilion. 3 months later, an order is given that peak masters of all peaks must lead the 92nd generation disciples to gather at Great Dao Terrace. Lu Ye sets off for Balian Peak. He then tells his artifact sword to stop. In the distance, Yue Hongling, Chu Ling, and Bai Qilan appear. Chu Ling looks up in shock. She calls out to the young master. Hongling apologizes to her senior brother Lu Ye, and Chu Ling also apologizes to the young master Lu Ye as they rush toward him. Lu ignores them. Master Bai calls out for Lu Ye to wait a moment. Onlookers wonder what the situation is, seeing two stunning beauties apologizing to one man at the same time. They complain that it is simply appalling and question where that leaves them. Lu Ye looks at them coldly and tells them to get lost. The surrounding disciples are shocked. They call him badass and exclaim that he actually told 3 goddesses to get lost. Hongling says that if he tells her to get lost, she will get lost. Master Bai lets out a sigh and says she is tired. Chu Ling steps forward and tries to speak to the young master. The group of disciples kneel down and call him a hero and a model for their generation. They ask him to accept a bow from them. The vice sect master orders silence and tells everyone to take their places. He says that the great Tao is towering, humanity is brilliant, and the heavens have 4 seasons. He continues that humans have moral relations, demons confuse the heart, and monsters run rampant. Lu Ye sits to the side and comments that it is so wordy, and that even the bureaucratic tone is exactly the same as in his past life. He says he knew he should have come later. The vice sect master explains that the competition adopts a single elimination format where 2 advance as 1, and that everyone must go all out and not be cowardly before the battle. He then declares that the 90th sect disciple competition officially begins. Hongling steps onto the stage. Some male disciples stare in shock and exclaim in amazement. She walks forward and thanks her senior brother why he will not even look at her. In an instant, she moves. A disciple is struck and sent flying off the stage. The vice sect master declares that Hongling wins. He calls for the next one on stage, Chu Ling. Chu Ling says she has joined the Great Tao sect and softly calls out to Lu Yi. Some disciples comment that such a beautiful woman is actually a simp and call it a reckless waste of God's gifts. They sigh that it is sad and lamentable. Chu Ling steps onto the stage. A woman tells her that he has already humiliated her and asks why she is still throwing herself at him, saying she has almost lost all the face of female cultivators. Chu Ling thanks her senior sister for her kindness and says everything she does is voluntary. She states that to her, the young master is an existence more important than the sword Tao. The woman's expression turns cold as she says that if that is the case, she will beat her until she wakes up. Onlookers shouts to teach her a lesson. The senior sister launches forward with a surge of blue energy. Chu Ling rushes up to meet her as the crowd watches. The senior sister tells her to come. A junior disciple thinks that although Lu Ye is somewhat handsome, there are many in the Great Tao sect more handsome than him. How this little girl became so bewitched by him, and called truly baffling. The senior sister warns that if Chu Ling does not wake up soon, she should not blame her for being impolite. Chu Ling releases a burst of purple energy and strikes upward. The senior sister is forced back as the attack cuts through the air. Chu Ling, breathing hard, thanks her senior sister for her concern. The vice sect master declares Balian Peak's Chu Ling victorious. Chu Ling says she accepts the concession. She smiles softly and tells the young master that she has won. The young master Lu Ye stands in silence as people around him murmur in displeasure. One calls him a scumbag. Lu Ye walks away from the stage. Behind him, a disciple said that he does not know how to cherish jade and pity fragrance at all. The vice sect master calls for the next match between Lu Ye and Gu Qing. Someone urges Gu Qing to do his best and defeat Lu Ye, telling him to ruthlessly trample him and let the junior sisters clearly see that Lu Ye is nothing but trash. Lu Ye looks ahead and reflects that he has no impression of the name Gu Qing. Gu Qing raises his blade and declares that today he will teach Lu Ye a good lesson on behalf of everyone. Lu Ye steps forward calmly as Gu Qing brings his weapon down with force. A red light erupts as the attack collides. In the next instant, Gu Qing is blasted into the air and crashes heavily onto the ground. Lu Ye stands on the platform and states that he accepts the concession. The vice sect master observes that this generation has truly produced quite a few good seedlings. A female elder agrees and remarks that the ones from Balian Peak are especially outstanding. The vice sect master names Yue Hongling and Chu Ling, admitting he did not expect junior sister Bai to be not only skilled in cultivation herself, but also so formidable at teaching disciples. He mentions that although they are excellent, their emotions are too abundant. If those 2 girls encounter Lu Ye, they may not necessarily have the mindset to compete. He narrows his eyes in thought. Seeing junior sister Bai, he remarks that even she is truly detestable. He then snorts that if this continues, the Great Tao sect will turn into the Joyous Union sect. After that, he keeps declaring the second round matchups. Chu Ling advances, Yue Hongling advances, Lu Ye advances, then declares the third round matchups. Chu Ling advances, Yue Hongling advances. The next match is called Balian Peak's Lu Ye against Wendao Peak's Li Jumin. Li Jumin activates the turtle spirit shield, and someone explains that its defensive power is extremely strong. Li Jumin forms a hand seal as purple energy rises around him. Lu Ye charges forward through the energy and throws a punch. The shield shatters into fragments. Li Jumin falls back onto the ground in shock, reaching out helplessly. Lu Ye stands calmly in the arena while Li Jumin remains seated on the floor. Later, Hongling steps forward onto the stage, facing Lu Ye. She admits that she knows she cannot beat him, but proposes that they agree on one thing first, that he should not hit her in the face. Lu Ye smirks and tells her that she actually reminded him. He attacks across Hongling's face. She protests that he said no hitting the face. Golden light begins to burn around her body as runes glow across her clothes. She asks him to please enlighten her. She unleashes the fearless divine fist, and a massive golden fist descends from the sky toward Lu Ye. Lu Ye raises his own fist, red energy flaring around it, and meets the attack head-on. The 2 forces collide in midair. The impact sends Hongling flying backward. She cries out as she is thrown down and crashes onto the ground. She struggles up to a seated position, clutching herself and groaning in pain. Lu Ye turns slightly and onlookers wonders whether this Lu Ye does not like women. Hongling glares at him and shouts that she is not done with him yet. Two onlookers whisper that if that is really the case, Lu Ye is quite pitiful and they may have misunderstood him. They add that boys being alone outside must also protect themselves well, cause who knows what a woman will do to him. The vice secmaster declares the 5th round and calls for Lu Ye versus Linghu Wuxiang to begin. Linghu Wuxiang stands calmly in the arena, as he states that he has already made up for his defects, but it seems he is still not his opponent's match. Lu Ye faces him and says that knowing shame, and then being brave, making constant progress, is the way of cultivation. Linghu Wuxiang then questions why Lu Ye, who is not an unreasonable person, is so savage and ruthless to his junior sisters. Lu Ye raises his hand and tells him that he does not need to know these things and should just make his move. Linghu Wuxiang dashes forward through rising flames. Lu Ye forms a hand sign and releases sword intent. Linghu Wuxiang lifts his arm to block and reacts in shock. Lu Ye's red sword energy flickers in front of him, as he asks senior brother Linghu if he is still fighting. Linghu Wuxiang lowers his head and admits defeat. Lu Ye tells him that he let him win. An elder remarks that junior sister Bai is not a specialized sword cultivator, and that a sword genius like Lu Ye should be taught by him, as that would be most suitable. Another retorts that he cannot even beat him, so he should be the one to teach Lu Ye. A man declares that he feels unworthy to teach him, and will find his master to have his master teach him personally. Master Bai states that Lu Ye is a disciple of Balian Peak, then questions whether it is a bit too impolite to speak like that. One addresses junior sister Bai and says that if she is willing to give Lu Ye to him, his lonely sword peak is willing to give all their resources for the next 3 years to Balian Peak. Another tells junior sister Bai that she knows him and that the hidden sword heaven scripture is waiting for an heir. If she does not give him to hidden sword peak, the peak will die out. He adds that he is willing to give all his essence of 20. One elder declares that he is willing to give all his essence of 20 years to her. Master Bai exhales and states that it is absolutely impossible to give Lu Ye to him, and that there is no room for negotiation. Lu Ye steps forward and questions whether Bai Chulan is not afraid of committing acts of deceiving the master and destroying the ancestors, asking if she should be rushing to send him away. Venerable Battlesword announces that Marshal Ni Bai will hand over Lu Ye. Master Bai turns her gaze. Venerable Battlesword descends from above. The elders bow and greet Marshal Uncle Battlesword. They kneel and greet Supreme Elder Battlesword. Lu Ye clasps his hands and remarks that even a Supreme Elder of the Tao Integration Realm has come to snatch people. A Supreme Elder says that Lu Ye is more suitable for his sword Tao. Another Supreme Elder arrives from the sky. He addresses senior brother Tao and states that Lu Ye is clearly more suitable for his sword Tao. Master Bai calls out to her martial uncles. She states that, according to the sect rules, one can only choose disciples when they first enter the sect, and that snatching someone now because of his outstanding aptitude is not the way of an elder. Venerable Battlesword counters that she is not a sword cultivator, and questions how she can teach a powerful sword cultivator well. Master Bai insists that this is still not a reason to snatch people. Venerable Battlesword says that since she is so stubborn, he will ask for the disciple's opinion. He then hovers in the sky and calls down, asking Lu Ye whether he is willing to leave Bayun Peak and bow under a different sword cultivation sect. Lu Ye looks up. Master Bai turned toward Lu Ye. Hongling thinks that if he really wants to leave, it means they will have no connection from now on. Lu Ye lowers his head and laughs softly. He clasps his hands and declares that of course he is willing. Venerable Battlesword laughs and says that since there are no objections, they will report to the sect master at once, and have the sect master decide personally. After that, all the Supreme Elders left. Other elders say they should go too, and maybe pick up some scraps, urging each other to hurry. Hongling asks Master Bai what they should do. Master Bai closes her eyes briefly, then opens them and states that with her here, no one is allowed to snatch him. Master Bai rises into the air and asks who is afraid of whom. She states that if they are only going to see the sect master, then she will go as well. The vice sect master's voice echoes across the field, asking why everyone is standing there in a daze and ordering them to continue the competition because it is not over yet. He announces that the semifinal's second match will be Chu Ling versus Xiao Harong. Onlookers describe this as a duel between two beauties, with both sides considered precious. Chu Ling calls for senior sister to make her move. The scene shifts to the Great Dao Hall. Inside the hall, all Supreme Elders kneels and one Supreme Elder urges the sect master to make a decision, saying that otherwise their lonely sword will truly die out, and one elder says that they cannot watch a good seedling of the sword Dao be buried in Bai Qilan's hands. Great Dao sect master Lu Changfeng orders everyone to shut their mouths. The elders comply. Lu Changfeng addresses her as junior sister Bai, and remarks that after not seeing her for a year, she has become more and more beautiful. The others react in shock. Master Bai stands before them. She then greets the sect master. The sect master Lu Changfeng tells her that she can call him senior brother, and that there is no need to call him sect master. Master Bai replies that sect rules cannot be mistaken, and etiquette cannot be abolished. Lu Changfeng accepts the formality, and then asks junior sister Bai what she thinks about the matter. Master Bai states that she absolutely will not allow Lu Ye to leave Balian Peak, because it does not conform to sect rules or etiquette. An elder warns her that she is a spell cultivator, and should not lead disciples astray. Balian Peak's Master Bai Qilan responds that spells she can teach, and swords she can also teach. She proposes that if the three martial uncles do not believe her, the sect master can allow her to fight a sword battle against the three of them. She declares that if she wins, Lu Ye will become a person of Balian Peak. The Supreme Elder Tao agrees, and says he will seal his cultivation so they fight with swords at the same void refining realm. He adds that if he loses, Lu Ye will choose for himself. Bai Qilan immediately rises into the sky and declares that she will absolutely not lose, telling them to come fight her in the sky if they want Lu Ye. Supreme Elder Tao flies into the sky and says that for the sake of finding a successor he is not afraid of bearing the infamy of the strong bullying the weak. Lu Changfeng calls out to martial uncle Lonely Sword and tells him not to hurt junior sister Bai. Bai Qilan releases power and summons the Taiyin Divine Sword. Chu Ling reacts in shock as the sword descends through the sky. She announces that the Taiyin Divine Sword has appeared, and that the master has made her move. Supreme Elder Tao looks at the enormous sword aura approaching and says he does not understand how it is possible. Bai Qilan tells him to be careful. Supreme Elder Tao raises his own sword power and says that in that case he will not hold back. The Taiyin Divine Sword descends and collides with his purple sword aura. Supreme Elder Tao unleashes Lonely Sword Strike. The two sword powers clash in the sky and Supreme Elder Tao cries out as the impact overwhelms him. Bai Qilan tells the martial uncle Tao that he has lost. She then invites the next martial uncle to enlighten her. Supreme Elder Venerable Battle Sword says to forget it because the sword Dao she just displayed proves she has the ability to teach Lu Ye, and there is no need for them to steal what belongs to someone else. Another Supreme Elder agrees and says it is not bad. Bai Qilan thanks the two martial uncles. The sect master Lu Changfeng approaches and asks if junior sister Bai is alright. He says that the sword technique she used just now does not belong to the great Dao sect. Bai Qilan admits that she obtained it by chance, and that it indeed does not belong to the great Dao sect. Yu Changfeng then says that since junior sister Bai likes to study sword techniques, he has privately collected several sword arts and invites her to accompany him to the library pavilion to study them together. Bai Qilan refuses and says she does not like sword techniques. Meanwhile, an announcement declares the winner Chu Ling and announces that the finals matchup will be Chu Ling versus Lu Ye. Chu Ling steps onto the arena and says she has finally waited for the young master. She calls out to him excitedly. Lu Ye appears at the edge of the arena. Chu Ling turns and notices him. Lu Ye releases killing intent. Inwardly, Chu Ling asks if the young master truly wants to kill Linger. Spectators shout for Chu Ling to beat and destroy the opponent. She stands before Lu Ye as someone says he has long found him an eyesore. Chu Ling suddenly kneels in front of Lu Ye and asks him to do it. Lu Ye becomes confused. Spectators question why she is acting like this and wonder how much money she owes Lu Ye. Another calls her crazy. Lu Ye states that she and him currently have no affection. He tells Chu Ling that he will not kill her and tells her to stay away from him. Chu Ling says the young master can kill her, but she will absolutely not leave the young master. Lu Ye suddenly strikes. Chu Ling is knocked away by the blow. Lu Ye calls her a psycho. The match ends, and Lu Ye is declared the winner. The vice sect master gives Lu Ye a token, and tells him to go to the Great Dao Treasure Pavilion to claim his reward. Lu Ye receives the token and thanks the vice sect master. He suddenly feels a chill and wonders where it is coming from. Lu Ye looks toward the stands and begins to suspect something. He notices Bai Qilan's strength and wonders since when she became this strong. One of the 8 future empress says Bai Qilan even defeated someone in the Dao integration realm, and that she seems to be hiding many things. She presses her to confess, and asks if they are still good sisters. Bai Qilan hesitates. The woman notices Bai Qilan's recent strange behavior, and asks what she has been doing behind her back. Bai Qilan becomes alarmed and realizes something. She senses the chaos yin poison appearing ahead of time. The woman asks Bai Qilan what exactly is wrong with her. Bai Qilan says it is nothing, and says she has something to do, then leaves first. Lu Ye thinks Bai Qilan's chaos yin poison has appeared, and hopes she can rely on her own strength to reduce the yin poison to nothing. Lu Ye arrives at the Great Dao Treasure Pavilion. He presents the token and is allowed to enter. Inside, he is told that the higher the floor, the higher the grade of treasures, and that he may choose 3 treasures from the 7th floor or below. Lu Ye selects a wood spirit orb. He then decides to take a God Burial Ridge key and a 9 Dragons treasure furnace. The elder says the wood spirit orb and the God Burial Ridge key are good items, but questions the 9 Dragons treasure furnace. Lu Ye says he has his own use for it. Outside, someone promotes the 9 Dragons treasure furnace. Lu Ye says he can exchange 1 profound yin soul fruit, and can refine extracts and top-grade pills. He approaches his senior brother and asks him to buy the 9 Dragons treasure furnace for him with 1 profound yin soul fruit. The senior brother angrily tells Liu Ye to move aside and leave. Liu Ye worries that he might not be able to sell the item. Looking at the golden furnace in his hands, he suddenly thinks of something and says he has an idea. Holding up the 9 Dragons treasure furnace, he announces that it can produce many kinds of pills that strengthen the body and improve health, then adds that it can also boost virility, wondering if someone's ding-dong is incapable. Some nearby disciples hear this and ask how it can be exchanged. Liu Ye raises one finger and states that the price is 1 profound yin soul fruit. A disciple immediately agrees to the deal. The disciple takes the furnace, while Liu Ye tells him that he has good taste. At the Great Dao Sect's main gate, Chu Ling stands waiting with a small box in her hand. When she sees Liu Ye approaching the stairs, she calls out that the young master has arrived. She says she made his favorite mung bean cakes for him. Liu Ye walks up the steps toward her. Chu Ling softly calls the young master again. As he steps forward, a red glow appears beneath his foot, like a flying sword artifact. Liu Ye steps forward with a red glow beneath his foot, and thinks that with 3 treasures in hand, he can leave the mountain and get some things done. Chu Ling calls out to the young master. Liu Ye reacts in surprise. She rushes toward him and tells the young master to wait for her. Liu Ye calls her sick in the head. Chu Ling leaps forward as energy bursts upward into the sky while Liu Ye leaves. At Bai Klian's Dao courtyard, Bai Klian sits while cold energy swirls around her. Martial Aunt wonders how many things Bai Klian is hiding from her, and questions why so much chill suddenly seeped out. Hongling reports that Martial Aunt, their master, is suffering from an outbreak of the Taiyin poison, which should not have appeared this early. Martial Aunt asks what the Taiyin poison is and wonders why she never knew about it. Hongling explains that the Taiyin poison is due to their master's constitution. It causes Taiyin power to continuously gather and condense into a liquid state, producing extreme cold pain. The strange part is that the Taiyin poison is supposed to erupt only at the Dao integration realm. However, their master has not yet reached the Dao integration realm. Bai Kulian remains seated while cold energy continues flowing around her body. She wonders why, even after using the Taiyin Saint transformation scripture, she still cannot completely dispel the Chaos Yin poison like she did in her previous life. She wonders if there could be another reason. She then realizes that she still cannot break free from her reliance on Liu Ye.
Bai Kolian states that the last trace of Chaos Yin poison has disappeared. Martial Ant arrives quickly and congratulates her for breaking through to the Dao integration realm. She asks about Bai Kolian's condition. Bai Kolian responds that she is already fine. Martial Ant observes that cold qi has entered the body and that her qi and blood are still weak. Questioning her claim, Bai Kolian downplays it as a minor issue. She then asks Hongling about Liu Ye's whereabouts. Martial Ant becomes angry, saying she treated Bai Kolian as a close friend but is being treated poorly. She questions what they are hiding from her. Bai Kolian states they were only discussing whether she would follow. Martial Ant responds that with her personality as a senior sister, she would naturally follow. She then points out that Hongling seems distracted and suspects she is hiding something. Hongling denies it and says she was only thinking about how long until they arrive. As they travel through the sky, Hongling reflects and admits she was wrong toward her senior brother. She looks ahead with concern and thinks that her senior brother must not be in danger. The group arrives at a cave entrance, where Chu Ling is already present. She kneels with a weapon across her lap and Hongling asks where the senior brother is. Chu Ling greets Sister Yu and Sister Bai, along with their master. Martial Ant reacts with excitement at seeing Sister Bai again, and assumes there must be major gossip between them. Chu Ling explains that the young master has already entered God Burial Ridge and says she is acting as a protector. Hongling becomes worried and insists on going inside to check. Chu Ling asks what Sister Yu Hangling is worried about. Hangling moves closer and quietly states that whatever has been done to the senior brother, she has done the same. Chu Ling realizes the implication and asks if Hangling also poisoned him, demanding to know what poison was used. Hangling states that the poison used is primordial morning mist. Chu Ling immediately rushes forward, urging Hangling to hurry and check on the young master. They move into the cave. As they move, Martial Ant thinks that Heavenly Rigidity poison and primordial morning mist, expressing confusion at the terminology. On the way, she steps forward and notices strange creatures on the ground. She asks what they are. Chu Ling explains that they are corpse beetles already killed by the young master, posing no danger. More bodies are scattered around, and Martial Ant thinks that these corpse beetles are at the Shattering Infant realm, while Liu Ye is only at the Origin Core realm. Why no one finds this strange? Chu Ling says that the formations inside have already been broken by the young master, allowing safe entry. They proceed deeper into the large hall. Chu Ling spots Liu Ye ahead and calls out to the young master. Hongling notes that the primordial morning mist has not yet erupted. Liu Ye is trembling, his body reacting as the poison begins to take effect. He struggles, unable to suppress it.
Hongling realizes the mist has followed them inside and declares the situation is not good. Chuling immediately rushes toward Lu Ye. Lu Ye's condition worsens, his expression distorting as the poison intensifies. Hongling calls out that Lu Ye cannot withstand the primordial morning mist and urges Chuling to use Taiyin power to temporarily freeze him. Lu Ye continues to scream, blood spilling as the poison takes hold. Chuling moves decisively and strikes to restrain Lu Ye. She states that she is Lu Ye's Dharma protector and is acting under his prior order. She then orders everyone else to back away while she handles the situation. Hongling turns away and tells the others to leave, stating she does not care. Bai Kulian agrees and says Lu Ye does not need help. A sudden explosion erupts in the underground palace passage. Bai Kulian reacts in shock and calls out Lu Ye's name. She notes that the underground palace passage has been destroyed. Hongling panics and reports that she has killed Lu Ye again, questioning why it happened despite his 9 lives. Bai Kulian reassures Hongling and tells her to rest. She uses her power to calm Hongling. Hongling weakly responds. Bai Kulian looks toward the ruins and questions how much pain Lu Ye is enduring. Chuling suggests going inside to check. Bai Kulian decides to wait a little longer. 2 hours pass. Bai Kulian senses the change in the purple mist and states that Lu Ye has broken through to the shattering infant stage. Deciding to check on him, she moves through the ruined passage as the purple energy trails along the ground. Lu Ye is shown sitting within the mist, his body surrounded by the flowing energy. Bai Kulian approaches and asks about his condition. Lu Ye responds that he is fine and asks what poison was used on him. Bai Kuilen explains that the poison is called the Taiyin marrow bug. Lu Ye raises his hand and states that each breakthrough produces a new poison. He then asks Bai Kuilen what number she is among those who poisoned him. Bai Kuilen hesitates and admits she is not sure. Lu Ye stops her from continuing. He states there is no need to continue further. He stands upright within the swirling purple mist, then says he is going back. Bai Kuilan observes that her master has already broken through to the Dao integration realm and concludes that the Chaos Yin poison should have begun condensing. Lu Ye lets out a low laugh and remarks that such pain is something she should understand. He walks away through the passage. Bai Kuilan turns back, her expression tense. Later, Hongling calls out to her senior brother in alarm. She rushes forward, asking about his condition. Bai Kuilan reassures Hongling that Lu Ye is already fine. Hongling questions whether 7 days have already passed, noting that the primordial morning mist requires 7 days to dissipate. Bai Kuilan clarifies that only 1 day has passed, and judging by Lu Ye's calm reaction, he should be fine. She tells Hongling to forget about Lu Ye. The ancient heaven's chosen battlefield will open in half a year, and Hongling will be able to see Feng Wuxi then. Hongling recalls Feng Wuxi and realizes she had almost forgotten about him. She immediately refuses, insisting that she must go watch over her senior brother. Hongling rushes off. Bai Qilan watches her leave and notes that in this life, Hongling has completely fallen in love with Lu Ye. Later, Chu Ling addresses Hongling. Hongling says she will keep watch over her senior brother together with her. Hongling arrives outside the room, calls out to her senior brother, and admits she was wrong, telling him he must stay safe. Time passes. Hongling and Chuling sit together, waiting quietly. Inside the room, Lu Ye sits on the bed. He states that he has finally made it through. Lu Ye holds a small infant formed from golden energy in his hand. He states that the primordial morning mist is extremely effective and can even be refined into the nascent soul. The infant stirs and shows middle finger, and he observes that it is not just a saint infant, but a saint infant with giant infant traits. Lu Ye smiles. He declares that in this life, he will leave everyone behind and make them despair when the time comes. At the Great Tao Pavilion, an announcement calls for the 92nd generation disciples to gather in front of the Great Tao Pavilion. Lu Ye reacts and asks System what happened. System reminds him that the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield has opened. Lu Ye recalls that in his past life, when he participated, he was only at the 6th layer of the origin core realm. But in this life, he is already at the 5th layer of the shattering infant realm and will achieve great things. Lu Ye sets off toward the Great Tao Pavilion. An elder stands at the pavilion and announces that abnormalities have appeared in the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield, and that it will soon open in the 9 Dragons Valley of the central region. Lu Ye stands among the disciples as the elder explains that the battlefield opens once every millennium and contains abundant resources. Anyone under 100 years old may enter, making it suitable for them. Chu Ling asks Lu Ye if he will go. The elder continues that the battlefield is full of danger and killing intent, with undead spirits roaming within. He says that heavens chosen from demon, spirit, monster, and ghost races will also enter. He warns that other sect factions often commit murder to seize treasures, urging caution. Lu Ye remains silent. Hongling thinks about Feng Wuxi whether they will still fight side by side. Scene shifts and we see a large ship sails through the sky above a tall pavilion as the wind rushes loudly around it. Lu Ye moves toward the ship. Behind him, Xu Ling follows and calls out for the young master to wait for her. In a distant dark region filled with purple mist, the monster emperor states that the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield has finally opened, and that they have waited a long time for this day. The ground trembles as he sits on a throne surrounded by skulls, declaring a mission to kill all geniuses of the righteous path and make them tremble beneath the feet of demons. He notes that the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield has already opened. The creature states that it needs the essence blood of the strongest human heavens chosen, promising that whoever brings it will be promoted to Monster King and personally taught supreme monster arts. A group of monsters roars in agreement, expressing that they will obey the monster emperor's command. The monster emperor stands overlooking the vast army. A bird flies forward and declared that in this life, this bird will slay the myriad spirit monster emperor and return peace to the monster race. Back on the ship, Lu Ye stands calmly as a man states that among one teaching, 3 dynasties, 5 sects, and heaven and earth, he alone is supreme. Lu Ye pauses, as the man asks him what the 9 great forces of the great wilderness refer to. The man explains that the one teaching is called the eternal teaching, and that the 3 dynasties are the Central Region Imperial Dynasty, the Julie Heavenly Dynasty, and the Supreme Emperor Dynasty. Lu Ye remains silent. He continues that the 5 sects are the Yin-Yang Law Sect, the Supreme Sword Sect, the Mountains and Rivers Holy Tower Sect, the Calamity Sect, and his Great Tao Sect. Lu Ye remarks that there is no need to say more. The man responds that he has not finished, adding that heaven and earth refer to the Heaven Pavilion and the Netherworld, and that these together form the Great Wilderness's 9 great forces. Xu Ling calls out to Sister Hongling to look quickly as they are almost there. The ships approach a circular platform suspended among clouds and mountains. 2 people observe from the ground, one commenting that it is expected of the Yin-Yang Law Sect, and the other noting that every one of them is quite attractive. He continues that their subordinate joyous union pavilions are the ones with beauties like clouds, numbering 1,723 branches, spread across major cities with booming business. One points out that from their clothing, the Yin-Yang Law Sect has already confirmed their Holy Son and Holy Maiden so quickly. These 2 are identified as Yin-Yang Law Sect Luo Yuan and Yin-Yang Law Sect Yang Wufa. Someone then wonders if these 2 will also become Tao companions. One says that such pairing is possible, as it is a tradition of the Yin-Yang Law Sect. One is Yin and one is Yang, and enduring the temptation of the Yin-Yang Great Tao is difficult. A sharp sound cuts through the air as a blade descends. Members of the Supreme Sword Sect arrive, descending from the sky with powerful sword intent. Observers note the overwhelming pressure, remarking on how strong their sword intent is. One feels his own sword trembling from inadequacy, acknowledging that among all sword cultivators, none surpass the Supreme Sword Sect. Attention shifts as someone points out that the Great Tao Sect has also arrived. The massive ship descends from the sky, drawing awe from those below, who remark on its grandeur and status as the foremost among the 5 sects. Shuling Hongling with another woman walk together and follows Lu Ye. Yang Wufa steps forward and greets the pink-haired woman respectfully, introducing himself as the Holy Son of the Yin-Yang Law Sect and asking for her name. She responds calmly, introducing herself as Xiao Huarong. Yang Wufa then begins to speak about the 2 women beside her. Before he can continue, Hongling sharply tells him to leave. Her gaze turns cold as she dismisses him. Yang Wufa laughs and agrees to leave, indicating that he will scram, while Lu Ye remains silent behind him. Lu Ye reflects that smashing this dog's head in his previous life was not unjust. Xu Ling calls out, asking where the young master is going. As Lu Ye moves away and leaps into the distance, he begins cultivating immediately, energy gathering around his body as he focuses. Yang Wufa observed that the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield is about to open, yet he is still cultivating at such a time, and a man remarked that it is a pity that the 2 beauties show no interest in another man. Yang Wufa says that cramming at the last minute is useless. Suddenly the man reacts in surprise, as another man tells him to stop feeling pity and look quickly, revealing that the Supreme Emperor Dynasty's 3rd prince, Shangguan Wuchang, has arrived. Shangguan Wuchang appears alongside a woman named as Shangguan Huanling, and a person comments that she has a noble temperament and is truly extraordinary. Another observes that everyone seems to have arrived. Lu Ye reacts in surprise that Shangguan Huanling has also arrived. He concludes that in this life she has nothing to do with him. Huanling notices him and identifies him as Lu Ye, as he continues cultivating with flames rising around his body while both women stands ahead watching. Huanling questions what is happening while she remarks that they hate Lu Ye to the bone, Shangguan Wochang comments that the two women beside Lu Ye are actually quite pretty. Huanling states that he is not Lu Ye's opponent and warns not to provoke him. Shangguan Wuchang smiles and considers that if she is trying to provoke him, then once they enter the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield, he will make Lu Ye his first target to establish dominance. Wenling declares that if that happens, he will die, and Shangguan Wuchang responds with laughter, accepting it. Wenling appears with a cold smile, calling him senior brother, then concludes that since she had to get rid of him, it could not be more fitting. Wuchang lowers his head slightly with a faint laugh. As time passes and one day later arrives, the vast sky shows a swirling vortex of energy forming above snow-covered mountains, while below, a large circular platform floats in the air with many figures gathered across its surface, surrounded by clouds. Several cultivators rushed forward after hearing that the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield had opened. One of them urgently pointed ahead and said they could enter the battlefield right away. Lu Ye immediately dashed forward at high speed. Chuling called out for the young master to wait for her, while the others hurried after him. One man warned them not to let that brat from the Great Tao sect succeed. Yang Wufa refused to let Lu Ye enter first as everyone accelerated through the sky. Lu Ye landed ahead of the others. He noticed Wufa and asked if his quirk had flared up again. Lu Ye stood calmly before him, while Wufa stared in shock and asked how he knew. Lu Ye coldly assured him that it would never flare up again. Dark and white energy swirled violently around Wufa as he attacked. He declared that once he killed Lu Ye, he would naturally return to normal. Lu Ye blocked the incoming attack with a punch and forced the energy back. Wufa admitted that the brat had some skills before releasing a massive spinning technique. Divine ability, yin-yang world-destroying light, erupted forward with violent swirling power. Surrounded by blazing flames, Lu Ye calmly looked at the attack and remarked that if he remembered correctly, this was the entirety of Wufa's ability. He then gathered flames around his fist and unleashed the celestial venerable fist. The enormous flaming strike tore forward and shattered through the incoming power. Wufa stared in disbelief and shouted, asking how this was possible, as the flames overwhelmed him. Lu Ye looked at Wufa coldly and remarked that Wufa clearly had not expected this outcome. Lu Ye looked down coldly and declared that in this life, Wufa could no longer withstand even a single blow. He took Wufa's storage ring and stated that it was time to retrieve his sword before flying away. Later, several cultivators soon arrived at the destroyed area in shock. One of them recognized the fallen man as Yang Wufa. Another stared at the scene in disbelief and realized that the holy son of the Yin-Yang Law sect had been defeated. A blood soul stone suddenly shattered, and they were alarmed that he had fallen so quickly. From Yin-Yang Law sect, Luo Yuan disdainfully called him trash and immediately rushed off to investigate who had killed Yang Wufa so quickly. Two men discussed the news that the people entering the ancient heaven's chosen battlefield had only just finished lining up, yet the holy son of the Yin-Yang Law sect had already fallen. Wu Chang mocked the holy son for being complete trash and laughed that the Yin-Yang Law sect had lost face badly this time. Wu Chang flew through the air while smiling faintly. Huanling remarked that things would not be boring and added that a monstrous surprise was waiting ahead. Meanwhile, Lu Ye sensed the presence of the stone sword and rushed toward it at high speed. He quietly admitted that after losing the stone sword, he had never used any other weapon again. And countless swords embedded in the ground suddenly trembled and rose into the air. Red sword lights shot across the battlefield while Lu Ye stood calmly at the center. With a sinister smile, he told the swords to attack together. An enormous rain of swords descended toward him from every direction. Lu Ye then raised a finger and said that one strike would be enough. A massive explosion erupted as the ground shattered around him. After the violent shockwave spread outward, Lu Ye smiled confidently and declared that the stone sword had finally returned. Lu Ye called out for the stone sword to return to him. As the sword flew back into his hand, Lu Ye gently told it not to fear or feel confused anymore. Crimson energy wrapped around his body while the sword trembled in response. A strange voice suddenly echoed from the sword spirit. It shouted wildly about becoming stronger than every legendary sword in existence. Lu Ye immediately realized that the stone sword spirit was speaking to him. He mocked its current cowardly nature, saying it had still not revealed its true self yet. The sword spirit excitedly asked about the powerful swords Lu Ye mentioned, and sounded eager to surpass them all. Lu Ye grinned and asked whether it truly wanted to become stronger than every one of them. Without hesitation, the sword spirit agreed to follow him. Moments later, Lu Ye stood calmly with the restored stone sword in his hand, while a powerful sword aura swept across the battlefield. Lu Ye officially renamed the restored stone sword and jokingly gave it the nickname, Little Stone. The sword spirit immediately protested and demanded a more imposing title. However, Lu Ye ignored the complaints and decided the name suited it perfectly. The spirit continued whining about how embarrassing the nickname sounded, while Lu Ye amused himself with its reactions. Chuling suddenly appeared and congratulated Lu Ye on successfully reclaiming the stone sword. Embarrassed by the nickname, the sword spirit quickly hid itself back inside the blade while shouting for Lu Ye to stop calling it stone sword. Liu Ye calmly informed Xu Ling that the stone sword had already been retrieved. Afterward, he headed back toward the first level of the battlefield to continue searching for treasures. The first battlefield level contained the ultimate clear water lake. Its water could improve a cultivator's aptitude, and rumors claimed that an ultimate clear water pearl was hidden at the bottom of the lake. Inside the lake, in her previous life, Hongling asked her senior brother to help her obtain the ultimate clear water pearl before anyone else could take it. But in this life, Hongling secretly vowed that she would obtain the ultimate clear water pearl by herself instead of relying on others again. Several cultivators continued diving deeper into the lake under the leadership of Shangguan Wuchang from the Supreme Imperial Dynasty. As they passed the 2,000-meter mark beneath the water, some of the weaker cultivators started reaching their limits. One disciple admitted he could no longer endure the pressure, causing panic among the others as they hurriedly retreated upward. Meanwhile, Wuchang approached Hongling and introduced himself properly. Hongling revealed that she already knew his younger sister Huan Ling, and Wuchang tried to use that connection to get closer to Hongling. Wuchang confidently invited Hongling on a private date after they returned from the battlefield. He also boasted that descending another 1,000 meters would be effortless for him. Wuchang mentioned this calmly while continuing deeper into the lake, leaving Hongling staring after him in surprise. Wuchang suddenly sensed a violent surge of energy rushing through the depths of the lake. A massive blue palm formed underwater and slammed toward Wuchang without warning. Shocked, he immediately unleashed his heaven-piercing halberd slash to counter the attack. At the same moment, Hongling calmly formed a hand seal and released a fearless seal technique. A roaring water dragon burst forward and completely overwhelmed Wuchang's attack. Wuchang was furious and could not believe Hongling possessed such terrifying strength. He shouted in disbelief after being forced backward by the attack. Hongling coldly warned him to be a good boy and obediently float back up, because she would not allow anyone to interfere with her plans. She continued descending deeper into the lake alone. Soon she reached the 2,500-meter mark and realized the situation was wrong. Although others claimed the lake was only 3,000 meters deep, Hongling discovered there was still no bottom in sight even after reaching the 3,000-meter depth. At that moment, she immediately realized that Liu Ye had lied to her. As Hongling continued sinking deeper into the lake, she finally reached the 4,000-meter and even 5,000-meter depths. At that moment, she finally understood why her senior brother had lied to her in the previous life. He never wanted her to experience the unbearable pain and pressure hidden within the depths of the lake, just to obtain the ultimate clear water pearl. Soon, Hongling spotted a faint blue light glowing in the darkness below. The moment she saw it, her eyes widened in excitement because she had finally found the ultimate clear water pearl. Without hesitation, Hongling grabbed the pearl and prepared to integrate it into her body. Well, the pearl could instantly restore her body and greatly improve her aptitude. However, just before she absorbed it, Hongling suddenly stopped. She remembered how her senior brother had once suffered unimaginable pain in this same place. Even when faced with the temptation of survival, he never used the ultimate clear water pearl on himself. Instead, he had left it behind for her. Tears slowly filled Hongling's eyes as she finally understood the depth of his feelings. She softly admitted that although her senior brother treated her incredibly well, that was not the kind of love she desired. Only when she was with Feng Wuxi did her heart race uncontrollably and her body feel warm with emotion. Holding the pearl tightly in her hand, Hongling vowed to Liu Ye that other than making her to be with him, she was willing to do anything for Liu Ye, even sacrifice her own life. After making up her mind, Hongling finally swallowed the ultimate clear water pearl and began integrating it into her body. A brilliant pillar of blue light instantly erupted from the lake as overwhelming spiritual energy surged through her meridians. Moments later, Hongling successfully broke through into the shattering infant realm. As she stepped onto the shore, her aura had become far stronger than before. However, Wuchang had already been waiting for her. He mockingly reminded Hongling that they had not settled the outcome of their battle beneath the water, and challenged her to continue fighting on land. Hongling calmly replied that he could not even defeat her underwater, so defeating her now was even more impossible. The two immediately clashed again. Wuchang swung his sword and launched a blazing attack toward Hongling, but Hongling responded with her fearless divine fist. Golden flames exploded into the sky as the collision shook the entire area. After witnessing her power, Wuchang was visibly shocked. He could not understand how Hongling's strength had suddenly increased so dramatically in such a short amount of time. He realized that the power behind her punch was now several times stronger than it had been underwater. At that moment, a massive formation hidden inside 100 Medicine Valley activated. The valley, rumored to contain the medicine garden of an ancient expert, was actually famous for its countless rare formations. Liu Ye immediately recognized the place as 100 Medicine Valley. He understood that to condense a second life, he absolutely had to obtain the Golden Heaven Great Sun Sunflower hidden inside the valley. Since he had already experienced this place in his previous life, Liu Ye moved through the formation at astonishing speed while searching for the treasure. A young formation disciple noticed someone rapidly breaking through the formations and became shocked, as he realized the intruder possessed extraordinary talent and concluded that such a genius must have died young in the past. which was why he had never heard of him before. Curious, the formation disciple decided to personally help Liu Ye pass through the formations. When the two finally met, the young man nervously asked whether Liu Ye was a human or a ghost because of how unreal his abilities seemed. Liu Ye calmly replied by asking whether he looked inhuman. The young man immediately began praising Liu Ye's appearance and admitted that he was more handsome than anyone else he had ever seen. Amused by the flattery, Liu Ye asked for the young man's name. The youth proudly introduced himself as Li Huoyu. Liu Ye told Li Huoyu to stop relying on ordinary methods to break formations and instead comprehend them with his heart. Following Liu Ye's guidance, Li Huoyu watched in shock as Liu Ye directly altered the structure of the formation itself while moving through it. Li Huoyu suddenly gained enlightenment. He realized that weak formation masters only focused on breaking formations, while true experts could seize control of formations and use them for themselves. Liu Ye immediately took advantage of the modified formation and collected the Golden Heaven Great Sun Sunflower. After obtaining what he wanted, Liu Ye prepared to leave and told Li Huoyu they would meet again someday. Li Huoyu hurriedly tried to ask for Liu Ye's name, but before he could get an answer, the entire formation around him suddenly transformed. Purple mist and strange illusions filled the surroundings as the formation changed into a seductive illusion array. Inside the illusion, several muscular men appeared and tried to charm Li Huoyu. Well, bro's formation realm is completely dominated by gay seductive men. Li Huoyu was horrified and completely unable to understand why such a bizarre illusion would appear. Panicking, he begged Liu Ye to at least create beautiful women with big melons and absolute thighs if he was going to make illusionary temptations instead of those terrifying muscular men. After leaving the illusion formation behind, Liu Ye arrived near a heavenly spirit pool filled with rich spiritual ki that could greatly aid cultivation. Before he could investigate further, an injured cultivator desperately rushed toward him and begged for help. At the same moment, several strange flying monsters chased after the man and tried to kill both of them. Liu Ye calmly glanced at the creatures and released crimson sword energy toward the incoming beasts. The flying monsters were instantly torn apart before they could even get close to him. The rescued cultivator hurriedly warned Liu Ye to be careful, but Liu Ye coldly replied that the man talked too much. Standing amidst the remains of the monsters, Liu Ye appeared completely relaxed and unbothered by the attack. The rescued man immediately became respectful after witnessing Liu Ye's terrifying strength. He introduced himself as a disciple from the Ganyan sect, and sincerely thanked Liu Ye for saving his life, promising to repay the favor in the future. However, Liu Ye showed no interest in hearing his name or accepting gratitude, and simply answered with a cold refusal. As Liu Ye continued forward, he saw corpses scattered across the battlefield, and realized the Great War had already begun. The rescued cultivator urgently warned him that monsters had occupied the heavenly spirit pool, and slaughtered many people nearby. One explained that humans, demons, spirits, monsters, and ghost cultivators had formed a temporary alliance to resist the invading monsters and demons together. When Liu Ye asked who organized such an alliance, the man revealed that it was led by Yu Hongling of the Great Tao sect, with many major factions responding to her call. The cultivator repeatedly urged Liu Ye to retreat to the alliance camp, saying it was both safer and better for fighting the enemy forces together. However, Liu Ye calmly decided to inspect the heavenly spirit pool himself. After hearing Yue Hongling's name, he silently understood why the situation had changed so much. Ignoring the warnings behind him, Liu Ye headed straight toward the heavenly spirit pool alone. At the pool, a beast-like monster noticed his arrival and mocked him for daring to come by himself. Believing a single human could never defeat them alone, the monster laughed arrogantly, mocking Liu Ye and claiming he would soon beg for mercy before dying miserably. Several beast-like creatures joked about tearing him apart while others rushed toward him with murderous intent. Before they could even approach, strange red and purple energy suddenly spread across the battlefield, causing the monsters to become alarmed. Liu Ye coldly remarked that villains usually died from talking too much. When the monster was killed by Liu Ye, a large group of monsters immediately charged at him together, shouting for revenge for their fallen companion. Without showing any fear, Liu Ye calmly raised his sword as purple spatial power and crimson sword intent erupted around him. He instantly unleashed countless slashes that tore through the battlefield like storms of destruction. The surrounding space itself seemed to distort as his attacks pierced through the charging enemies from every direction. Liu Ye then drew upon the surrounding environment, using the battlefield's energy to strengthen his overwhelming assault even further. Terrifying sword lights swept through the monsters, cutting through their ranks before they could properly react. The remaining beast cultivators were left horrified as they realized Liu Ye's strength was far beyond what they had expected. Several surviving monsters immediately dropped to their knees and begged Liu Ye to spare them, promising to serve him obediently like cattle and horses. One of them awkwardly admitted that they were literally cows and horses. Liu Ye smiled coldly and declared that for his final sword strike, whether they survived or not would depend entirely on their own fate. A massive crimson sword light then swept across the battlefield, instantly silencing the entire area. After the attack ended, Liu Ye calmly sat alone inside the heavenly spirit pool as the battlefield finally became quiet again. Deep within a dark underground hall, a monster hurriedly reported to the Heavenly Centipede King that a terrifying human had appeared and nearly wiped out the entire monster race gathered near the Heavenly Spirit Pool. The messenger explained that the human had slain dozens of monsters with a single sword strike and urged the others to avenge their fallen brethren. The Heavenly Centipede King remained silent for a moment before questioning whether the human was truly that terrifying. Another frightened monster immediately confirmed it, trembling as it described Lu Ye's overwhelming strength. At that moment, strange purple spatial power suddenly spread through the hall, causing the terrified monsters to panic even further. One of them realized in horror that the Heavenly Centipede King himself is using this strange spatial force against him. The Heavenly Centipede King killed that monster in an instant. Despite hearing how terrifying Lu Ye was, the Heavenly Centipede King calmly reminded everyone not to forget their true goal. The Heavenly Centipede King ordered everyone to hunt down Feng Wuxi first because nothing else was more important than that mission. A kneeling subordinate hurriedly reported that Feng Wuxi's whereabouts had finally been found. After hearing the report, the Heavenly Centipede King immediately commanded everyone to set out and follow him to execute Feng Wuxi. The gathered monsters loudly obeyed his order. With a furious expression, the Heavenly Centipede King declared that he would completely erase the Phoenix clan from this world. Elsewhere, on the first level of the ancient Heaven's chosen battlefield, many cultivators had already gathered near a mountain peak. Fairy Yu Hongling quietly looked ahead and thought that in this life, she would repay Lu Ye in advance for everything he had done for her in the previous life. She then informed everyone that the stronghold had been successfully established and calmly announced that she would now leave. The surrounding cultivators immediately became confused and asked Hongling where she was going. With a gentle smile, Hongling answered that she was going to find true love. As Hongling departed, she told everyone that they would meet again if fate allowed it. Elsewhere, Feng Wuxi coughed up blood while facing the Heavenly Centipede King. Despite his injuries, Feng Wuxi declared that all monster races were the same to him, and that he held no personal grudges against any of them. He could not understand why the Heavenly Centipede King was so determined to kill him. Floating in the air above him, the Heavenly Centipede King coldly answered that the weak preyed on the strong and survival was the law of the world. He added that if he had to explain the reason to every piece of trash he killed, his entire life would be wasted on explanations. Feng Wuxi angrily shouted that fighting with such a large group was shameless, and demanded a fair one-on-one battle if the Heavenly Centipede King truly had courage. The Heavenly Centipede King mocked him, and asked whether he should also hide away his thousands of legs, just to make Feng Wuxi feel things were fair. Filled with hatred, Feng Wuxi swore that once he became stronger, he would wipe out the entire disgusting race before suddenly hearing someone crying for help nearby. Frightened, Hongling desperately called for someone to save her. The moment Feng Wuxi saw her, he immediately became stunned by her beauty. Without hesitation, he rushed straight toward Hongling. Hongling looked at Feng Wuxi with gentle eyes and thinks that she had finally seen him again. She understands that after his death, he had remained in her heart for many years. As they ran together, Feng Wuxi hurriedly admitted that he could not help her because he was also fleeing for his life. Several men from the Demon Clan chased after them. The Heavenly Centipede King shouted toward the Demon Clan that he had no intention of becoming enemies with the Demon Clan and proposed that they kill the two thieves together. The Demon Clan members immediately agreed. While continuing to flee, Feng Wuxi asked Hongling what she had done to make so many demons chase her. She calmly thinks that if she were not trying to recreate the events of their meeting from her past life, those demons would not be a match for her at all. Feng Wuxi then guessed that the ugly monsters were probably jealous of his handsome face, which was why they were hunting him down. Hongling quietly thought that his narcissistic behavior was actually very similar to Lu Ye's. She then became confused with herself, wondering why she was thinking about Lu Ye at a moment like this. Meanwhile, Lu Ye cultivated inside the Heavenly Spirit Pool and praised its effects, saying it was even better than he had imagined. In only 3 days, he had already reached the 6th level of the nascent soul realm. At that moment, a monk approached and greeted him with Amitabha. He politely explained that the place belonged to their sect and asked the benefactor to find another location to cultivate. He also noted that people from the Wisdom sect had arrived. Lu Ye coldly warned the monk that he was only cultivating there and had never provoked the Wisdom sect since they were no match for him. He advised them not to provoke him either. The monk calmly replied that the spiritual pool contained Buddha's light and had been formed from a sarira, so he asked him once again to move elsewhere. Lu Ye narrowed his eyes and remarked that the Wisdom sect seemed determined to drive him away. More monks soon surrounded the area. One of them declared that if the benefactor refused to listen to reason, then this poor monk also knew a bit of martial arts. Lu Ye immediately attacked. Red spiritual energy erupted from his hand as he unleashed several slashes toward the monks. He then coldly called them noisy. Scene shifts. Feng Wukong asked Hongling if she knew any safe places. Hongling told him to find her senior brother because the crowd chasing them was nothing but a bunch of losers in front of him. Feng Wukong looked surprised and asked whether her senior brother was really that strong. Hongling proudly declared that her senior brother was invincible among his peers and urged Feng Wuxi to follow her quickly. As they continued running, Feng Wuxi suddenly asked Hongling whether she could tell her senior brother that he was actually a good demon. He nervously explained that he had never eaten a human before. He asked her to tell her senior brother to be a little friendlier toward him. Hongling reassured him that her senior brother did not kill innocents, then asked whether Feng Wuxi had a way to shake off their pursuers first. Feng Wuxi admitted that he did, but only if she promised to take him along afterward. She smiled and told him that if she had not planned to take him with her, she would never have come all this way for him. Feng Wuxi immediately agreed. Golden flames suddenly exploded around Feng Wuxi's body. With burning eyes, he shouted for her to go as a massive phoenix-shaped wave of fire swept across the battlefield and crashed into the pursuing enemies. The demons panicked in shock. One of them cursed that nobody had mentioned Feng Wuxi was a phoenix, while others desperately shouted for everyone to run. After unleashing the attack, Feng Wuxi collapsed weakly into Hongling's arms. She called Feng Wuxi's name while he groaned in pain. Feng Wuxi looked at her in disbelief and weakly asked how she knew his name. Hongling softly told Feng Wuxi that she had heard of him before. Still weak in her arms, Feng Wuxi asked who had mentioned him because he had never heard of her before. She avoided answering and said that it was not the time for questions. Her priority was finding her senior brother first. As they continued walking together, Feng Wuxi anxiously asked where this senior brother of hers was and why he had not appeared yet. Lanning suddenly admitted with an embarrassed smile that she thinks she is lost. Feng Wuxi fell silent for a moment, then bitterly joked that he could not blame her for getting lost when she was so beautiful. After traveling farther, they spotted a massive canyon ahead. Feng Wuxi immediately said it was the perfect choke point and suggested hiding there for cover. Inside the canyon, Hongling told Feng Wuxi that she would guard the entrance until he recovered enough strength to take over for her. Moments later, the pursuing enemies discovered their hiding place. The Heavenly Centipede King sneered that they could no longer escape. Before the enemies could advance, Hongling instantly struck out with blazing golden energy and coldly ordered them to scram. A small green bottle suddenly fell nearby, making Feng Wuxi freeze in confusion. Watching Hongling effortlessly repel the enemies, he could not understand what was happening. Inwardly, he questioned why someone so powerful had been running away in the first place. Meanwhile, the demons roared that the pair of man and woman had to be killed no matter what. Hongling calmly countered every incoming attack with blazing golden strikes. But the Heavenly Centipede King ordered his subordinates to keep attacking. He believed they only needed to exhaust her because they still had the advantage in numbers. As the battle continued, Feng Wuxi observed her carefully and found the situation strange. He thought that if she was truly this strong, she should have been capable of wiping out the demons directly instead of retreating. At that moment, Hongling silently recalled her previous life. She remembered that when her physical strength had once failed, Feng Wuxi had stepped forward to save her. Determined to repeat the same tragedy in this life, she steeled herself and continued fighting the enemies head-on, and wondered whether in this life he will be the same or not. Hongling was suddenly struck during the battle and cried out in pain. Seeing her injured, Feng Wuxi immediately stepped in and caught her. He told her that it was now his turn and ordered her to restore her strength while he handled the enemies. Hongling stared at him in surprise. She felt something strange, sensing that Feng Wuxi no longer seemed as weak as before. At once, Feng Wuxi rushed forward alone to intercept the incoming demons. Purple energy attacks rained toward him from every direction, but he blocked and countered them one after another despite the pressure. Even so, the attacks continued to pile up. Feng Wuxi groaned as the strain grew heavier, yet he still forced himself to stand in front of Hongling and protect her. Concerned, she asked about his condition. Feng Wuxi replied that he was still fine and could continue holding on. Watching him defend her again caused Hongling to fall into thought. She wondered if she would never be able to change the tragic outcome from before, and questioned whether there was any reason for her to remain there any longer. She lightly attacked on Feng Wuxi and make him unconscious. At that moment, the Heavenly Centipede King appeared again and demanded that Feng Wuxi be handed over, declaring that the monster race did not wish to involve itself in her personal grudge. Hongling suddenly called an attack named as Fearless, her eyes shining with determination. In the next instant, a massive explosion erupted across the battlefield. Dust and flames burst outward as she descended from the smoke with overwhelming pressure, leaving the surrounding demons stunned. The Heavenly Centipede King roared that he would fight her to the bitter end, and lunged forward in fury. Hongling calmly faced him and struck with terrifying force. Her punch slammed directly into the Heavenly Centipede King, sending him flying backward in shock. Coldly, she declared that the punch was for Feng Wuxi. The Heavenly Centipede King stared at her in disbelief. He could not understand why someone so powerful had ended up being chased by a mere group from the demon race. Hongling remained silent for a moment before angrily cursing under her breath, realizing that she had been deceiving herself all along. Meanwhile, several monk cultivators rushed over after noticing the disturbance and shouted toward the man they called Junior Brother Du Wu. One of the cultivators looked at the bodies on the ground and demanded to know if Lu Ye had killed them. Lu Ye remained calm and said that disturbing his peaceful cultivation was already enough reason for death. The bald cultivator angrily argued that Lu Ye had gone on a killing spree merely because his cultivation was disturbed, and questioned how that was any different from a demon. He then declared that he would subdue monsters and eliminate demons today. The group immediately formed the 18 Arhats demon-subduing formation and surrounded Lu Ye from every direction. Lu Ye's eyes glowed red as the formation closed in around him. The bald cultivator charged forward confidently, but the pressure from Lu Ye's power suddenly made him panic and retreat in fear. Lu Ye smirked as flames rose around his body. He calmly remarked that it was good the monk had already escaped. Then, while surrounded by fire, he revealed that he had also reached the 7th layer of Shattering Infant. Meanwhile, as the flames burned fiercely, Feng Wuxi remained beside Hongling while she quietly wondered why finally being alone with him still felt awkward. Feng Wuxi slowly opened his eyes and weakly wondered if he had died. Hongling assured him that he was alive and well. Still confused, he asked the fairy Hongling how they had escaped and what happened to the demons and monsters. She smiled and explained that her senior brother had arrived, killed those demons and monsters, and helped them escape. Feng Wuxi immediately focused on the fact that her senior brother had left the two of them alone together. With a sly smile, he tried to bang her in the cave, so he moved closer and hinted at the situation, but Hongling instantly rejected the idea and told him he could keep dreaming. She then turned to leave and casually said that since he was awake, she should go too before saying goodbye. Feng Wuxi held a strange conch shell in his hand. Before leaving, Hongling had told him that if anything happened, he could use it to contact her. He examined the shell in confusion and wondered if it could really be used to reach her. Holding the shell close, Feng Wuxi thought that Hongling had treated him well and even wondered if she might actually like him. He contacted her and asked where she was. Hongling answered that she was currently tempering herself and did not have time to talk. He immediately asked if he could seek refuge with her. Hongling refused. Since he did not belong to any faction, she told him it would be better for him to observe how rogue cultivators survived. Feng Wuxi says that every resource point was controlled by the major powers, and being alone left him unable to help her. Sweat appeared on Feng Wuxi's face as he thought that since she was so powerful, he might as well throw himself at her mercy. He quickly urged Hongling to listen, insisting that they could watch each other's backs. When no answer came, he repeatedly called out to her and wondered why she was no longer speaking. The connection suddenly ended. Staring at the fallen shell, Feng Wuxi could not understand it. He wondered why Hongling, who seemed to like him before, was now abandoning him. At that moment, a beast-like man approached and looked down at him. He mocked Feng Wuxi for daring to claim the human race's #1 woman, Hongling. Pointing at him, the beast-like Dragon King questioned whether he was even worthy. Little Dragon King's words made Feng Wuxi realize who he was facing. Recognizing the Little Dragon King, he nervously asked what he wanted. The Little Dragon King bared his fangs and gave a simple order to the people behind him. He told them to take Feng Wuxi. Scene shifts. Dark clouds hung over a desolate mountain as Little Dragon King questioned Feng Wuxi about his exact relationship with Yu Hangling. Feng Wuxi was bound by chains inside a cave. Lowering his head, he insisted that he and Yu Hangling were only good friends. Standing before him, the Little Dragon King continued his interrogation and asked whether he had ever touched her. Feng Wuxi quickly denied it. The Little Dragon King's expression darkened. He demanded to know why Feng Wuxi would claim that Yu Hongling liked him. Before Feng Wuxi could respond, the Little Dragon King struck him across the face and sent him reeling. Blood stained Feng Wuxi's face. Glaring ahead, he blamed Hongling for his situation and thought that he had no grudge against these people and that everything was entirely her fault. Desperate to survive, he offered information. He claimed that Hongling was the monster race's greatest enemy and promised that if they spared his life, he could lure her out for them. A blade was pressed against his neck while a monster beside him warned him to think very carefully about what he said next. Feng Wuxi fell silent. At that moment, the conch shell in his hand lit up. Feng Wuxi's eyes widened in surprise. Delighted that she had actually replied, he immediately told her that he was at Flying Thunder Mountain and urged her to come find him at Flying Thunder Mountain. In the distance, bolts of lightning flashed across the dark sky. Scene shifted to the previous life. Inside a room, Hongling knelt on a bed while countless threads bound her arms and body. The sound of movement made her suddenly look up in surprise as someone entered. That someone was Lu Yi, who informed her that Feng Wuxi was dead. Lu Yi stood nearby and coldly stated that not a trace of Feng Wuxi remained. Tears streamed down Hongling's face. She angrily blamed him, insisting that everything was his fault. She accused him of stopping her from saving Feng Wuxi and declared that if he had not interfered, Feng Wuxi would still be alive. Lu Yi immediately rejected her accusation. He told her to be quiet and explained that it had been a trap from the beginning. According to him, their enemies intended to capture her first and then use her as bait to kill him. Still restrained, Hongling accused him of wanting to possess her. She believed he had deliberately allowed Feng Wuxi to die for that reason. Lu Ye lowered his head and quietly apologized. Back in the present, rain fell as Hongling stood outside. She declared that in her past life, Lu Ye had warned her that it was a trap. This time, she would make sure such a tragedy never happened in the first place. Looking into the distance, Hongling announced that she would be leaving for a while. A blue-haired woman and a large man listened as the order was given. The two of them were told to take charge of the human race's affairs during her absence, halt all offensives, focus entirely on defense, and properly digest the resources their forces had already secured. The bald man objected, pointing out that the human race currently held the advantage, and questioning how they could simply stop fighting now. Standing in the rain, Hongling explained that true progress did not come from endless battles. She stated that everyone should focus on refining the heavenly materials and earthly treasures they had obtained to increase their actual strength. If they attacked recklessly without strengthening their foundations, even a small mistake could leave them with nothing. As Hongling walked away through the rain, the bald man hurriedly asked where she was going and begged to accompany her. She refused and calmly told him there was no need. She was not looking for a fight, so he did not need to follow her. Flames suddenly ignited around Hongling. Before leaving, she instructed him that if a powerful enemy ever appeared, he should go to the heavenly spirit pool and ask her senior brother to come out of seclusion. According to her, once her senior brother stepped forward, every problem they faced would be resolved. The bald man was left stunned and wondered whether her senior brother was truly that powerful. Meanwhile, Lu Ye sat cultivating within the pool, surrounded by crimson energy. The system excitedly announced that a spectacle was about to begin, and encouraged Lu Ye to watch the drama unfold. Lu Ye remained indifferent, and replied that if the system is interested it could watch it, because he still needed to cultivate. The system protested that watching alone was boring, and urged him to join. Unmoved, Lu Ye dismissed the situation as nothing more than a cliché melodrama about someone throwing away their life for love, questioning why he would want to watch such a thing. The system excitedly commented that the situation was entertaining. It analyzed the scene and wondered whether the female lead had any chance of escaping unharmed. Watching from afar with the help of the system, Lu Ye recognized the formation surrounding the area. He noted that the Divine Firmament Lightning Array and the 8 Desolations Lock and Kill Array had been layered over a Heaven Demon Illusion Array. In his view, unless a miracle occurred, even giving Hongling wings would not be enough for her to escape. The system suddenly announced that she had arrived. Hongling stepped into the area and called out for Feng Wuxi, saying that she had come and asking where he was. At that moment, a fierce monster hidden nearby revealed itself and roared for her to enter. Hongling immediately sensed the danger and turned sharply. A massive log crashed down toward her from above. Without hesitation, she launched a mountain-crashing seal, striking the attacker and blasting it away. After landing lightly on the ground, Hongling's expression changed as she sensed that something was still wrong nearby. As Hongling sensed danger around her, she suddenly realized that she had stepped into the Heaven Demon Illusion Array, the Divine Firmament Lightning Array, and the 8 Desolations Lock and Kill Array, all at once. The overwhelming pressure made her groan as the formations activated around her. Hidden observers watched from the shadows. They were pleased that they had successfully lured Hongling there, and mocked her for arriving completely alone. One of them sneered that the peerless Hongling had turned out to be a fool, while another laughed that she was simply devoted and loyal to a fault. A wolf-like monster ridiculed her further, claiming that a human expert had fallen for a handsome man from the monster race. It mocked Feng Wukai, and boasted that it was far superior to him. Before it could continue, a powerful strike slammed into the beast and sent it flying across the ground. Furious, the little Dragon King warned that if it did not know how to speak properly, it should keep its mouth shut. Hongling stood frozen in shock. She could not understand what was happening and wondered if everything had really been a trap from the very beginning. Her thoughts drifted back to an earlier conversation with Lu Ye. He had warned her that she could not go because it was a trap, and that the monster race would certainly capture her. At the time, she had refused to believe it. She insisted that such a thing was impossible, and argued that the monster race had no way of knowing about her relationship with Feng Wuxi. Lan Mu firmly told Hongling that she was not going, and that his decision was final. Hongling refused to accept it. She accused him of being jealous of Feng Wuxi, and declared that if he would not let her leave, she would simply walk right past him. As she tried to rush out, Lan Mu moved instantly, and knocked her unconscious. Letting out a helpless sigh, he caught her and carried her in his arms. After laying her down safely, Lu Ye told his unconscious junior sister that he would go in her place. Back in the present, Little Dragon King stepped forward and called out Hongling's name. He asked whether she wanted to see Feng Wuxi, and then promised to show him to her. He brought out Feng Wuxi bound in chains. Seeing the prisoner, Hongling was shocked and immediately questioned how he had ended up in such a miserable state. Little Dragon King grabbed Feng Wuxi by the head and explained that they had not beaten him into that condition. Little Dragon King held Feng Wuxi by the neck and explained that his condition was not their doing. Feng Wuxi had willingly chosen to help them kill Hongling. Little Dragon King added that he despised such betrayal, which was why he had beaten him. Hongling looked at the scene in silence before calmly asking if that was really the truth. Little Dragon King tossed Feng Wuxi onto the ground and declared that even beasts should possess a shred of honor. Lying battered on the ground, Feng Wuxi suddenly blamed Hongling for everything. He complained that she had never allowed him to seek refuge with her despite being so powerful, and that she had refused to protect him. Hearing those words, Hongling called his name in disbelief. Feng Wuxi glared at her with tears and blood on his face and furiously cursed her, calling her a shameless woman. Golden energy burst around her as she stepped forward and challenged all of them to attack at once. Watching from afar, Liu Ye remarked that her performance was not bad. He observed that constant battles were rapidly accelerating her growth. He further noted that building a strong foundation during the early stages of cultivation was far more valuable than trying to compensate for weaknesses later. The system questioned how Liu Ye could still have the peace of mind to comment on Hongling's cultivation at a time like this. Liu Ye calmly replied that he saw no reason why he should not. The system then asked why Hongling had not broken down in hysterical tears the way Chu Ling had after learning the truth. Looking toward the battlefield, Liu Ye answered that it was likely because she had never truly experienced absolute despair. A moment later, he cut the conversation short. As crimson power surged around him and water splashed outward, he sensed a breakthrough. He had advanced to the 9th layer of the shattering infant stage. Meanwhile, Hongling panted heavily from the relentless fighting but continued battling without pause. She launched another attack and unleashed the Oblivion Seal. Watching from above, the beast leaders grew increasingly alarmed. They warned that if Hongling was allowed to continue growing stronger, all of their clans would eventually face a catastrophic disaster. Little Dragon King remarked that the human race was truly flourishing, producing one extraordinary talent after another, and that fate itself seemed to favor them. Since that was the case, they had no choice but to kill her. The monsters immediately intensified their assault, determined not to give Hongling even a single moment to recover. Hongling dropped to one knee as purple lightning crackled around her body. Blood stained her clothes and her breathing grew heavier, yet she remained standing. An enemy seized the opportunity and rushed toward her with killing intent, shouting that she should die. Before the attack could reach her, Hongling raised her hand and unleashed the Divine Light Seal. A brilliant beam shot forward and struck the attacker. Even her enemies were shocked. Watching her continue to fight despite her condition, they wondered if she did not understand the meaning of exhaustion. Hongling gasped for breath, her body covered in wounds and bruises. One of the observers remarked that every mortal had a limit and that she had already reached hers. Ignoring the pain, Hongling looked ahead and weakly asked who would be next. Hearing this, Little Dragon King immediately called for everyone to take their turn and continue the assault. Hongling slowly lifted her head and stared at the dark sky filled with purple lightning. As she watched the storm overhead, a thought surfaced in her mind. She wondered how Liu Ye had managed to fight his way through a situation like this in the past. A tear quietly formed in her eye. At that moment, she recalled her previous unnoticed memory. Blood-stained Liu Ye stepped through a doorway. Despite the injuries covering his body, Liu Ye immediately looked ahead and declared that he had returned for his junior sister. At the battlefield, a bolt of blue lightning suddenly crashed down and exploded across the ground. Hongling staggered and let out a pained groan. Looking toward the disturbance, tears filled her eyes. She could hardly believe that Liu Ye had knowingly walked into a trap without any hesitation in her previous life. Before she could say more, Little Dragon King roared an order to kill her and launched a fierce attack. Hongling raised her arm and tried to block the strike, but the overwhelming force blasted her backward. She cried out as her battered body was sent flying. Watching from afar, another enemy laughed. He declared that the strongest human cultivator was about to die by his hand. Hongling struggled to remain standing as a blade swept toward her. Lifting her head, she looked at her enemy without fear and coldly questioned whether he truly believed he was worthy of killing her. The attacker froze in shock. In the next instant, Hongling unleashed a star-shattering seal, and a burst of golden power exploded toward him, killing him in one shot. Little Dragon King roared in fury and released a torrent of blazing flames. The fire engulfed Hongling, forcing a scream from her as the flames consumed her weakened body. Watching her collapse to the ground, Little Dragon King mocked her. He sneered that the strongest of the human race had turned out to be this foolish. Hongling lay on the ground, breathing heavily, but Little Dragon King was not finished. Raising a hand, he declared that he would personally send her on her way. Carrying her into the air, he added that in her next life, she should not place her faith in love. Blood trickled from Hongling's lips. Even in that state, she answered that such a decision was not his to make. Hongling struck back with all the strength she had left, and the attack slammed directly into Little Dragon King. Staring at the result in disbelief, she wondered how such a thing was possible. Dropping to her knees, she reflected on the past. She believed that Liu Ye must have suffered the same agony back then, yet she had never given him the chance to explain himself. Blood running down her face, Hongling lowered her head and quietly apologized. The surrounding beasts noticed her tears and questioned who she was crying for. When Feng Wuxi's name was mentioned, they immediately rejected the possibility. Meanwhile, the system asked Liu Ye whether she still had any chance of surviving. Liu Ye smirked and declared that there was not a chance. He confidently stated that she was already dead for sure. Just then, he suddenly sensed something and told himself to wait. Looking into the sky through the system window, he saw the vermilion bird descending from above. Shocked, he wondered why she was there, noting that she had never appeared in his previous life. Back at the battlefield, the beasts paid no attention to this and shouted that it did not matter who Hongling was crying for. They urged everyone to kill her immediately. Just then, flaming feathers rained from the sky, crashing into the battlefield and forcing the monsters into panic. They screamed and warned each other to dodge and get out of the way. The vermilion bird, surrounded by crimson energy, descended before Hongling. The vermilion bird explained that she had not intended to interfere, but Hongling's crying had simply been too unsightly to ignore. The monsters immediately accused her of betrayal. They shouted that she was merely a slave of the myriad spirit and had no right to oppose the monster race. The vermilion bird paid no attention to their outrage. Raising her power, she unleashed a devastating attack and in an instant killed that monster. Appearing beside Hongling, she gently supported her. Hongling looked up in surprise as the vermilion bird urged her not to die and to hold on a little longer. The vermilion bird then gave Hongling a drop of her essence blood, explaining that it should be enough to keep her breathing. Feeling the warmth of that power, Hongling finally understood something. She realized that in their previous life, Liu Ye had been forced into a situation where sacrificing one of his lives was the only way to escape. The monsters angrily argued that Hongling was the #1 heavenly pride of the human race. If she survived, the consequences would be unimaginable. They reminded the vermilion bird that the human race was the mortal enemy of the monster race and demanded to know why she was protecting her. They urged her to hand Hongling over so they could pretend none of this had happened. Looking at Hongling, she calmly asked if she was ready. Despite her injuries, Hongling steadied herself and answered that she was. Flames erupted around them as the vermilion bird wrapped Hongling in her arms. Fiery wings spread behind her, and the two rose into the air together, tearing through the sky with overwhelming force. And with this, we've come to the end of today's episode. If you stayed till the last second, drop your thoughts about this story, and in the comments, guess what our MC will do next. A quick like helps more than you think, and subscribing makes sure you never miss what comes next. Thank you for watching, and check out this video right here.